Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy
They
there.
got the wrong guy. The dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
This is the next search on February 28, 2020, 7:44 p.m. How, period, does the FBI find people? And people's misspelled P-E-O-O-P-L-E. Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
Because he's the guy.
I object.
What more do you need to see?
Alrighty then. Welcome back. Welcome back from lunch. I hope it was a wonderful one. Welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. Good to have you here. Thanks to all those who hit the like button on the way in. I see there were a few of you that there was a little bit of a bottleneck by the like button. So you're taking your time, leaving your DNA on it. All right. Let's see. Let's turn this down a little bit so I can hear myself. Actually, I don't know if you can hear me at all, but this way I can hear myself. Okay, Mrs. R.A. got back from lunch, which is wonderful. She had a great lunch. La Rancherita. Delicious. At least it looks delicious. She didn't bring me any. She brought her leftovers, but there was none for me apparently. All right, we are. I know what I need. I need this over here. Boom. That. And one more time. There we go. All right, we are waiting to go back to court here. The seats are broken because I forgot to fix the seats. I've got one job and I forgot to fix the seats. I just have to click like that, and the seats will be fixed. Wait for it. In about 3, 2, 1. There we go. Seats are fixed. So Candace Hoff, looks like you and Red Pen were the first ones to get a seat. All right. And I guess the sound effects will probably be fixed as well here. I guess you can't have everything you want, right? All right. That one's good. There it goes. Okay. It took a minute to kick in. Took just a minute.
Have them send someone with more experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a cat.
Candace, thanks for the gifted membership. Congratulations, and thanks for taking a seat.
Don't miss the forest for the trees.
All right, as we get ready to go back to court, which
this
should
is not
start.
Burger King. People do not get to have it their way.
No, they don't get to. It should start here in just a minute. We are continuing the testimony of Gabriel's friend. This is Daniel, and Daniel. This has been a little difficult because of the language barrier. And I think it's almost so difficult that it's possibly not going to be useful in many ways. So let's see. Obviously there's going to be more redirect, but even on direct, the state didn't ask for a lot of information from him. We didn't get the full scenario of how what went down and where he was and what happened. It's almost like they left it pretty vague. You know, on cross-examination, they've been focusing mostly on impeachment material where his story has changed over time, possibly because he doesn't understand the question. But anyway, it's been interesting. I think that here soon we're gonna go through what happened or what he says happened there at the scene, and possibly a little more impeachment, and then we're gonna go back to redirect, and we'll see if they're just done with the witness or if they have more stuff to go there. All right, let's see. Big shout out here to. Well, Candace, thank you very much for giving the membership. But I was trying to say to Greeners, who was first in chat today. Greeners, congratulations, my friend. And look at that logo. Wow, what a logo. Hey, we've got somebody calling in right off the bat.
Install it.
Call from Bree.
Is this Bree?
It is.
Bree, how are you doing?
Before you get started.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm started. We're started already. Go ahead.
I know, real quick. So the grand jury decided to go ahead and charge Chris Preciado, the one in the couple in San Antonio, with the murder of the unborn baby. Grand jury indicted him for it. So he is going to be charged with all 3 counts.
Wow. So upgrade the charges. upgraded charges all over the place. Corey Richmond's got some upgrades to her charges yesterday as well. So that is great news. Thanks for the update. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you on Twitter so you have the article, but I'll give it to you. But they added that today. Grade Reed was decided. So
awesome.
It's not known about the dad or the stepmom or mother yet, and the article just is for sure Chris.
Okay. Well, that's great news. Thank you, Bree. I appreciate the update. Right, and this is like breaking news. Just happened, right?
Yep, just happened.
Awesome. Thank you.
I've been watching for it. So
say one more time. The name on this one. This is the couple that were killed in their car, right?
Yes, Savannah Soto and Matthew Guerrera in San Antonio, and she was like literally supposed to be going to be induced for labor the next day or that day. Yeah. And so now the grand jury decided they are going to charge him with the murder of the baby as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess I expected that, I guess I could say, especially when she was that far along.
I was kind of surprised they didn't just do it to begin with, and it took a grand jury to decide it, but maybe they wanted it to be concrete, like, yes, we are good that we can do this now.
Yeah. Bree, thank you very much for the information. As always, you come through in a clinch. So thank you very much.
All right.
We'll
Talk
see
to you guys later. Bye, chat.
Bye. All right. Great update there. We love the hot off the press. Bab says, I think the way the questions were asked confused him. Defense attorney asked, didn't you say you didn't see him with the radio? Yeah, the double negatives. And there was one time where she had like triple negatives in there. The questioning is definitely part of the problem. Greeners, let me go back just to you briefly. Greeners, you know being first in chat comes with a penalty. Okay, you've been around here long enough. You've got a yellow courthouse. You know that you first in chat, you're going to be sentenced with internet ownership. So as a glutton for punishment, which you are, I'm going to go ahead and sentence you to that internet ownership right now. You're going to be responsible. You are now responsible from this moment on for all the internet problems worldwide. And you're also responsible for fixing them. So not only is it your fault that they happen, but you have to make them go away as well. So Greeners, thank you very much for taking that on for everybody. Greeners, promptly we've had to delete some of your comments. I think something said something about dropping trow, and then yeah, okay. Anyway, Greeners, thank you very much. Krista gifted a membership. Thank you, Krista. Appreciate that. That generosity is mostly appreciated by Jordy, who received that gifted membership, though. Wonderful, wonderful. Greeners loves Internet Challenge. Yes. Greeners' new profile pic is great. I love it. Anyway, we're a few minutes away from court coming back. They've been a little bit delayed today. So, Lovebug, we are live right now, waiting for court to come back from the lunch break. I realize, for those of you on the East Coast, you're looking at your clock saying, did he just say lunch? Yes, the court in Arizona does not, they have zero respect for daylight savings. They don't honor it. They don't say, oh, daylight savings time is a thing. So they just don't change their clocks. But what that does is that half the year, Arizona is on the same time zone as the Pacific, as the West Coast. And then half the year they're on with the mountain time zone. And this is the time they're on with the Pacific time zone right now. So it's at least that's what I've always learned. If I was wrong, I blame my fourth grade geography teacher for that knowledge. Pi Lisa has waved to Recovery Addict for the best streaming and mods and our chat family. Thank you, Pi Lisa, for 11 amazing months. Next month you get that orange courthouse. I'm so excited for you. Thank you for that. Also, Arizona has the siesta mindset. Yes, what other court do you just take half-hour breaks just because, well, it's time for our mid-morning break? How's half an hour sound? It could be like a second breakfast or an early lunch. You've got enough time for it. Anyway, let's see. Yes, Selena, Team Minority, I see the update to your name. It was wonderful chatting with you on the phone earlier today. Thank you so much. Okay, it gets weird this time of year. My mother-in-law lives in Arizona. Candace says, that's because we don't want to figure out how to change the clock on the stove. Well, you've got Greeners to help with that, Candace. That's an internet-related issue. Yes, believe it or not, the clocks are all internet-related. Almost all of them, because they're all based off the time on a satellite, right? And that's internet. Not half the year, less than half the year. It's not a 6-month cycle for the daylight savings. I thought it was like half and half. Anyway, I saw TYO Toys on Twitter put something out about a YouTuber who was having trouble booking something, and I haven't quite viewed it. Do you mind if I watch it right now? Let me just take a quick peek and see what's up here. Live reactions, I guess this is what it is. Let's see. Phil Foss says, breaking true crime law tuber unable to book trip to CrimeCon despite having hundreds of unused travel credits. Agency calls Recovery Addict during his live show. I love it. That is wonderful. Apparently, maybe CrimeCon will say
Mickey.
Hey.
To accept, press 1.
Hey, this is Recovery Addict. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, it's Mickey.
Mickey, how are you doing?
I got a question. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just great.
I missed it. I had to do a replay this morning because I was catching up on the whole Baltimore bridge thing. But I have a question for you.
What's that?
When we members, solicitors, subscribers, whatever you want to call us, send you money,
yes,
what gets the most for you? Is it through membership? I mean, when does YouTube take the least percentage out? Memberships, chats, super chats?
That is a great
gift
question.
Membership?
That is a great question. Basically, if it goes through YouTube, the percentage that's taken out is the same, whether it's a membership, whether it's a super chat, whether it's a super sticker. The percentage is all the same. I think all the content creators will tell you if you're able to make a direct donation, gets the largest part to me, and then Uncle Sam's the only person that takes a cut instead of YouTube, and then Uncle Sam.
Well, Uncle Sam's going to take their part no matter what we do, right?
Yes, they will. They do. YouTube takes 30%. If you're on an Apple device, this is something to know. If you're on an Apple device and you make a purchase through the YouTube app, it costs more. It costs you more. The end result for me doesn't change, but it costs you more to buy it through Apple because of their whole store rules. So if you're on a computer, it might be cheaper to say buy a membership or to pay for a super sticker than if you were on an Apple device. So that's one way to save money. But you being here is just great, and that doesn't cost you anything. So thank you very much. Just click the subscribe button. It's free. The like button is also appreciated as well.
I just like to maximize my gifts to you guys. That's all, and YouTube gets plenty in their share. If
you're really worried about it, I do have I think I've got a PayPal link that I could send you. But honestly, thank you. I'm blessed beyond what I deserve. You guys are amazing, and I love it. I appreciate all of you. So just you being here is enough. So
now the next question: what would you prefer more, cash, chocolate, or pickles?
I have to answer quick before my kids or my wife comes in and takes the microphone, because I will tell you it will cost more to ship pickles than it would cost me to buy them. Although I have had people ship me pickles and they're delicious and I love them. It's a loaded question. It's a loaded question. Do what you feel best with and do what's comfortable for you. I don't want anyone to donate anything if it puts them in a tight spot or anything like that. I'm just happy to get to spend the day with you. So that's it.
Okay, that sounds good. You take care now.
All right, thank you, Mickey. Oh man. All right, bye. You put me in a tough spot. Let's see. Cash is king. Says Jared, cash is king. Yes, I do love you all. You are amazing. I will tell you, this community is incredibly generous. If I have my preference, I prefer the memberships because that way multiple people can share in the joy, and I love seeing people get and give memberships. That to me is just the coolest. I think that's sort of like a hallmark of our little community here is the membership gifting. That's my personal favorite. All right, P.O. Box is best. Fat stacks of cash, nothing else in the P.O. Box, right? Says Love Bug. All right, let's see. We're close. We're close to coming back. Actually, we're 1 minute late, but they're not back yet. So I'll keep looking and making sure nobody else is back for us. Jennifer, thank you very much. On cue, gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. Yes, I accept 125 $20 bills in a stack. Is it even legal to mail money anymore? I mean, I say that my mother-in-law sent me a birthday card. It arrived today. It was wonderful. She sent it like a week ago, but it arrived today, and it had a $10 bill in there. And I put it in my wallet. I'm excited, and I now have a $10 bill. I did not have one before, so I'm thinking I might use that as the tip for when we take Mrs. R.A. out for dinner to wherever she went for lunch, because it smells so good. All right. That being said, Queen Olive, thank you very much for gifting a membership as well. Very, very generous. Let's see, Mrs. R.A., you're reported. I got in so much trouble as a young secretary mailing cash. I always tell people I want a large paper sack filled with $100 bills, non-sequential and unmarked. Right? Is that the rule? Okay, I think we've got Court's going to come back here in just a second. Give us a minute here. I can hear it.
We're not live streaming. Yes, we can witness come back up.
Honorable Thomas Fink, present. Amazon gift cards are very cool. They are. You can get almost anything you want on Amazon. Almost. Whatever floats your goat. I love your name, by the way. The witness looks terrified. Are you seeing this? He absolutely looks terrified.
Folks, please have a seat. The record will show the presence of all the jurors, counsel, and the defendant. Witness is back at the witness stand. Witness, sir, you sworn to tell the truth that you took this morning. That's still. And whenever you're ready, Ms. I can continue cross-examination.
I want you to take a look at what's the marked as defense exhibit I. If we could get counsel table on the witness to talk that.
Quiero que usted vea lo que ha sido marcado como en el minuto prueba de cargo I. An interpreter did not hear the second part. Please take a look at defense exhibit I.
Yes. Can you see that on your screen?
Pueden ver el elemento de cargo en la pantalla, señor. Yes.
And we were talking earlier about those photographs that somebody showed you to see if you could identify the other person who you say was in this group with you. Are these those photographs?
Y estábamos hablando antes sobre unas fotos que le dieron a usted para ver si usted podía identificar a las otras personas que estaban en el grupo con usted. ¿Reconoce esta foto, señor? No.
You don't recognize being shown this photograph?
¿Usted no reconoce que le mostraron esta foto? Yes, it was shown to me.
Okay. And is that your signature on the photograph?
Es la firma de usted en la foto, señor.
And
Yes.
And that's your statement saying, I don't recognize this person. Is that correct?
Y esa declaración abajo es algo que usted escribió donde usted puso no conozco a esta persona. Yes.
And then underneath that, I'm scrolling. There's another image of another person, right?
Y luego abajo de eso, y sí estoy bajando, Hay otra imagen de otra persona, ¿correcto? Yes.
And it's the same thing. Your signature is on there and your statement that you don't recognize that person.
Y la misma cosa, ahí está su firma y una declaración que usted puso diciendo que usted no reconoce a esta persona, ¿correcto? Yes.
And then the next page, again, there's an image of a third person, right?
Y luego en la siguiente página otra vez hay una imagen de una tercera persona, ¿correcto? Yes.
And again, your signature and your statement that you don't recognize that person either.
Y otra vez su firma y una declaración que usted puso ahí diciendo que no reconoce a esta persona, ¿correcto?
Is that a yes?
Quería decir sí, señor. I don't know that person, no.
Okay, and that is your signature and that is your statement saying that you don't recognize that person.
Y ahí está su firma y ahí está una declaración que usted puso diciendo que usted no conoce a esa persona y que tampoco la reconoce, ¿correcto? Correct.
And then there's a fourth image of another person. Same thing with that person, right?
Y luego hay una cuarta imagen de una cuarta persona y la misma cosa con esa imagen, ¿correcto? Correct.
And then there's a fifth person, same thing. Signature and your statement that you don't recognize that fifth person.
Y luego hay una quinta persona, misma cosa. Usted firmó y luego puso una declaración diciendo que no reconoce a la persona, ¿correcto? Yes.
There's a sixth person, same story with the sixth person, right?
Y luego hay una sexta persona, misma historia con esa sexta persona, ¿correcto? Correct.
And then there's a picture of three women, and same thing. You say you don't recognize them either with a signature there, correct?
Y luego hay una foto de tres mujeres y la misma cosa. Usted firmó y luego puso una declaración diciendo que no reconoce a estas personas, ¿correcto? Correct.
And then finally, there's the last page here with all six of the men together. Is that right?
Y luego, por fin, en la última página es una foto de los seis hombres todos juntos, ¿cierto? Yes.
And so when you say that you were shown photos, are these the photos that you were shown to see if you could identify the other person who was with you?
If interpreter may have repetition on person or persons.
Now I don't remember. When you say you were shown photos by law enforcement to see if you could identify another person who was with you, are these those photos?
Entonces, cuando usted dice que le mostraron fotos para ver si usted podía identificar a una otra persona que estaba con usted, estas son las fotos a que se estaba refiriendo usted, señor. I don't understand.
These are the photos that the detective showed you to see if you could identify somebody. Is that right?
Estas son las fotos que el detective le mostró a usted para ver si usted podía identificar a alguien, ¿correcto? Yes.
You move to admit the exhibit I.
I understand the evidentiary value of exhibit I in evidence.
The witness has laid a foundation. He's testified he looked at these photos and he could not identify the people who were in the photos.
That's only relevant if the people are relevant.
Yes.
Otherwise, the record could be the equivalent of he was just shown some random grouping of 9 people. He doesn't know anything. So what? Only if this is relevant to something. So what's the relevance? I mean, I don't know who these people are. I don't know what the relevance.
Well, and we're going to lay foundation with that with other witnesses, but one of the other people is a person who this witness testified was a member of this group and was with him.
In that case, the objections. Any other objections?
They're going to lay foundation with another witness, and so can we just withhold ruling until we have another witness to lay any additional foundation?
And Judge, we laid the foundation with this witness. This witness testified that he was told someone by the name of Ramon was in this group of people, and he said, yes, I remember that person was with us. Ramon is in these photographs, and the witness.
Objection's overruled. I mean,
boom.
Objection's overruled. Is this marked as an exhibit number?
Aye.
Aye is admitted.
So that's interesting.
I
The
apologize
witness
to the court,
doesn't.
but when he sits back, when the witness sits back, I can't see his face at all. I'd ask that he be scooted up to the table so we can observe him. Thank you, Judge.
They're putting the screws to him here.
Is that better?
I'm getting his face up.
So the judge ruled in favor of the defense and allowed the exhibits to come in.
Oh, yeah, maybe you can raise this.
Allowed the exhibits to come in, even though he says he doesn't recognize any of them. But that might be an impeachment issue here in just a moment.
And validity, we can take that off the screen. And so you told investigators in this case that you knew someone or you recognized someone who was in the group, and that was this person named Ramon, right?
Ahora, entonces usted les dijo a los investigadores del caso que usted conocía a alguien o que reconocía a alguien que formaba parte del grupo y esa persona se llamaba Ramón, ¿cierto? No.
So right before we left for lunch, you testified that you had a conversation with investigators and there was a person who accompanied you in this group, and his name was Ramon, and that person was with you. You testified to that before lunch. Do you remember that testimony?
Justo antes del almuerzo, usted había explicado que había tenido una conversación con unos investigadores diciendo que había una persona en el grupo que usted reconoció y que esa persona fue Ramón. ¿Usted se acuerda de ese testimonio? No.
You don't remember telling us that before we took the lunch break?
Usted no se acuerda de habernos dicho eso antes del descanso del almuerzo. No.
Okay. So when you met with Detective Barba and Sheriff Hathaway, they told you that there might be another person in this group, or they gave you a name of a person and they asked you if you recognized the name or if you knew that person. Do you recall them doing that?
Ahora, cuando usted se reunió con el detective Barba y el sheriff Hathaway, ellos le dijeron que quizá había otra persona, y le dieron un nombre, que dijeron que quizá usted reconocería o conocería. ¿Usted se acuerda de eso? I don't remember.
You don't remember telling me before we broke for lunch that you recognized the name Ramon, and that was somebody who was traveling in the group with you.
Usted no se acuerda que antes de la hora del almuerzo, usted me había dicho que usted reconocía el nombre de Ramón, que el Ramón fue alguien que estaba viajando con usted. I don't remember.
Do you have problems with your memory?
Señor, ¿tiene usted problemas con su memoria? Yes.
Oh.
What kind of problems?
¿Qué clase de problemas, señor? I was very scared. I was scared.
Were you scared before lunch when I was asking you questions?
¿Estaba usted asustado antes de la hora del almuerzo cuando yo le estaba haciendo preguntas a usted? Yes.
You're scared just sitting here testifying.
¿Tiene miedo estar sentado aquí dando testimonio a usted?
Sí.
Yes.
And you're so scared that you can't remember what you testified to just before lunch.
Y usted está tan asustado que no se acuerda a qué fue que usted dio testimonio hoy por la tarde antes del almuerzo. Que no se acuerda. No.
So you're not so scared of testifying that you can't remember what you talked about before lunch, but you're telling me that you don't remember talking about this before lunch.
Así que no está tan asustado. You know what, if the interpreter may have repetition, Your Honor.
Let's move on. Witnesses answered this question 3 or 4 times. Ask another question. Let's move on.
You said that when you encountered Border Patrol, everybody ran and you dropped your backpack. Do you remember that testimony?
Ahora, usted dijo que cuando ustedes se encontraron con el Border Patrol, todo el mundo salió corriendo y que usted dejó caer su mochila. ¿Se acuerda de ese testimonio? Yes.
Did Gabriel drop his backpack?
Gabriel también dejó que se cayera la mochila de él. It was the water that we threw out.
How were you carrying the water?
¿Cómo es que estaban cargando el agua? Inside the backpacks.
And when you encountered Border Patrol and you ran, you said you dropped the water, right?
Entonces, cuando ustedes se encontraron con la patrulla fronteriza y corrieron, dijo usted que tiraron el agua, ¿correcto? Correct.
Did you drop the backpack as well?
También tiraron las mochilas, o tiró usted la mochila también. No.
So you took the water out of the backpack and you dropped the water?
Entonces sacó el agua de la mochila y luego tiró el agua. Yes.
You had time to do that while you were running away from Border Patrol?
Tuvo tiempo usted para hacer eso mientras estaba huyendo de la patrulla fronteriza.
Ya que habíamos descansado, porque ya no podíamos.
After we rested a little, after we rested a little bit because we couldn't walk anymore.
Okay, my question was, you had time to take water out of the backpack and drop it before you ran from Border Patrol.
Mi pregunta fue que si usted tenía tiempo para sacar el agua de la mochila y luego tirar el agua antes de que usted saliera corriendo del Border Patrol.
Porque ya había pasado el carro. Había escuchado que había pasado el carro.
Well, because the car had passed, we heard that you could hear that the car had passed.
So you didn't run from Border Patrol when you heard the car. You waited until the Border Patrol car passed you before you ran.
Entonces, ustedes no empezaron a correr el momento en que escucharon el Border Patrol. Esperaron hasta que el Border Patrol pasara para correr, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
And so, why did you decide to get rid of your water if you didn't need to run away from Border Patrol?
Entonces, ¿por qué fue que usted decidió tirar el agua si no necesitaba huir del Border Patrol?
Porque yo venía cansado, estaba cansado y ya no podía.
Because I was tired and I couldn't anymore.
So you just left all of your water?
Y entonces dejó así todo el agua.
Solo un poquito yo agarré para mezclar.
I just kept a little bit with me so that I could wet my lips.
So you didn't leave all of your water?
Entonces no dejó todo el agua. No.
How much water did you keep?
¿Cuánta agua fue que usted se quedó? ¿Qué cantidad de agua?
Una botellita.
A little bottle. That was it.
Okay, so you did.
1 second. If interpreter could get repetition, please. Usted dijo una botella y luego dijo otra cosa.
Como una botellita de Gatorade.
One small bottle of Gatorade. That was what it was like of water.
So you did have water with you, correct?
Entonces sí tenía agua con usted, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you and Gabriel then, because Border Patrol had already passed, did you run somewhere or did you walk?
Entonces usted y Gabriel, tomando en cuenta que el Border Patrol ya había pasado, ¿ustedes corrieron a un lugar o caminaron a un lugar?
Pues que corrimos, caminamos. Porque no podíamos caminar.
After we ran, we walked a little bit because we couldn't run anymore.
Why were you running?
¿Por qué es que estaban corriendo?
Porque pensaban que los iban a seguir.
Because we thought that we were going to be followed.
So you wanted to put some distance between yourself and the border patrol car that you saw. Is that what
Así
you're
que
saying?
querían distanciarse entre usted y el patrullero del Border Patrol, ¿correcto? Yes.
And was it your intention then to go back to Mexico?
Entonces, ¿fue la intención de usted volver a México? Yes.
And you and Gabriel are just the two of you when this incident happens. Is that right?
Y en ese momento usted y Gabriel están solos cuando sucedió el incidente, ¿correcto? Yes.
How long did you run before you started to walk? How much time?
¿Cuánto tiempo corrió antes de empezar a caminar? ¿Cuánto tiempo?
And I'm talking about running from Border Patrol.
Y me refiero a caminar del Border Patrol. Like 10 minutes.
So you ran for about 10 minutes and then you started walking?
Así que corrió como 10 minutos y luego empezó a caminar.
Running for 10 minutes with a backpack,
Yes.
a heavy backpack,
Did you
is
stop to rest
it's
at some
hard.
point?
En algún momento se paró para descansar. Yes.
When the shooting took place, were you running or walking or resting? What were you doing right before the shooting took place?
Cuando sucedió, cuando empezaron los tiros, ¿qué estaban haciendo? Justo antes de los disparos, descansando, caminando,
Acabamos de parar.
corriendo, perdón, si puede empezar de nuevo, caminando.
Sí. Y despacio porque veníamos como queriendo vomitar.
We were walking slowly because we weren't doing very well. I, for one, wanted to vomit. I wanted to vomit.
Okay. I think, so you got sick before this shooting took place, is that right?
Entonces, usted se enfermó antes de los disparos, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you previously met with the prosecution in this case, right? On a number of different occasions, correct?
Y usted anteriormente se había reunido con la fiscalía en este caso en varias ocasiones, ¿cierto? No.
I'm asking about the folks who are sitting at this table. You've met with them before, correct?
Estoy hablando de las personas que están sentadas aquí en esta mesa. Usted ya ha hablado con ellos antes, ¿verdad? Before you.
Do you recall telling the prosecution that you drank water out of a trough right before this shooting took place?
¿Usted recuerda haberle dicho a los fiscales que usted se paró y se tomó un tiempo para tomar agua de un bebedero antes de seguir? Yes.
But your testimony today is that you had water with you, is that correct?
Pero ahorita está diciendo, su testimonio es que usted traía agua.
Traía poquito y ya se me había terminado.
I had a little bit and I had already finished it.
So now you're saying you drank all your water and then you drank out of the trough.
Entonces usted está diciendo que ya se había tomado todo el agua y después tomó de un bebedero. Yes.
You're absolutely sure that it's just you and Gabriel when the shooting takes place, is that right?
¿Está usted absolutamente seguro que eran nomás usted y Gabriela a la hora de los disparos,
Sí.
verdad? Yes, yes.
Nobody else is around, right?
No había nadie más alrededor. No.
You said that you were next to, or you were near a house when this shooting took place, is that correct?
Usted dijo que estaba enseguida o cerca de una casa cuando se dieron los disparos, ¿es correcto?
Casa no miré.
I didn't see a house.
In your earlier testimony, I heard you say there was a house with pine trees. You don't remember saying that earlier today?
Más temprano, hoy, usted dijo que había visto una casa con unos pinos.
Atrás. No habían sido los disparos todavía.
in the back, and the shots hadn't been fired yet.
But at this location where the shots are fired, there's a house. That's what you testified to earlier, right? A house with pines.
Pero en este lugar donde se dieron los disparos, había una casa con pinos. Así fue lo que dijo más temprano.
Para atrás. Atrás, antes de que fueran los disparos. Antes de que fueran los disparos, pues donde estaba la casa que habíamos pasado, donde estaban los pinos.
Before the shots were fired, that's where I said behind there was a house we had passed by a house with a pine tree.
How long after you passed by that house with the pine tree before the shooting started?
¿Cuánto tiempo pasó desde que usted pasó ahí por la casa de los pinos a los disparos?
No, pues, unos 5 minutos.
It wasn't long, just about 5-6 minutes.
And you were walking, right?
Y usted iba caminando, walking.
And then you stopped to rest, right?
Y luego se detuvieron a descansar.
Sí.
Yes.
How far away was the house from you when you stopped to rest?
¿Qué tan lejos le quedaba la casa cuando ustedes se pararon a descansar? About 10-15 meters.
10 or 15 meters.
De 10 a 15 metros.
Sí.
Yes.
Can you show me with your hands approximately how big a meter is?
¿Me puede enseñar así con sus manos más o menos cuánto es un metro?
Un metro. Pues
Acá arriba. Like this?
So something like this is about a meter? Is that what you're saying?
Más o menos esta distancia, así, esto es un metro.
a unas 5 de eso para atrás.
So like 5 times this to where we had drank the water.
So what I'm asking you is when the shots are fired, I asked you how far away is this house with the pine tree? And you said about 10 meters, is that right?
A ver, lo que yo le estoy preguntando es, cuando los disparos, la casa con los pinos, ¿qué tan retirada estaba? Y usted dijo 10 metros, ¿verdad? Yes.
Okay, so you're about 10 meters away from a house when shots are firing at you.
Entonces estaba usted como a unos 10 metros de distancia de una casa cuando les empezaron a disparar.
Sí.
Yes.
Were you near a road when this happened?
¿Estaba usted cerca de una calle cuando esto pasó?
Miraba la calle así, ¿no?
I could see the road in front of me.
What is a smoot? I've changed it.
Was that the road, I think you described it previously as the road that Border Patrol uses to go to the end of the wall. Is that the road you're talking about?
Esa es la calle, creo que usted la describió como que esa era la calle que usa el Border Patrol para ir a donde termina el muro. Esa es la calle de la que habla. Yes.
So you're next to a road that Border Patrol uses to get to the end of the wall when the shooting takes place, correct?
Entonces usted está al lado de una calle, la calle que el Border Patrol usa para llegar al final del muro a la hora de los disparos, ¿correcto? Yes.
And 10 meters away from a house.
That's a
Y
problem.
a 10
That doesn't
metros de
match up the
distancia de
crime
una
scene.
casa. Yes.
Are you near the border wall when this happens?
¿Está usted cerca del muro de la frontera cuando esto pasó?
Como a unos 2 campos de fútbol.
Like about 2 football fields away.
And it's a
Let me
mile
ask
and a
you this.
quarter.
From where you're standing when the shooting happens, you can see the border wall, correct?
A ver, le voy a preguntar de esta manera. De donde usted estaba parado cuando los disparó, ¿usted alcanzaba a ver el muro?
Sí.
Yes.
And you're saying today that that wall is about 2 football fields away.
Y ahorita usted está diciendo que ese muro de la frontera, el muro de la frontera, estaba como a 2 campos de fútbol de distancia. Yes.
When you were testifying, when the prosecution was asking you questions, you said there was also a fence in this area. Do you recall saying that?
Cuando estaba dando su testimonio, cuando el fiscal estaba haciendo preguntas, usted estaba dando su testimonio, el fiscal le preguntó que si había un cerco ahí, ¿recuerda eso?
Sí.
Yes?
What kind of a fence is that?
¿Qué tipo de cerco?
Del muro. Me está preguntando de lo del final del muro.
Are you asking about the border wall, the end of the border wall?
I'm asking about a fence. Did you see a fence that's not the border wall?
Estoy hablando de un cerco, de una cerca. Usted vio una cerca que no es el muro, que no sea el muro.
Sí, pero no era el muro. Era donde estaba el caballo.
Well, I saw one, but it wasn't at the border wall. It was where the horse was, where we were being shot at.
This is all over the place.
So, do you recall again, in that conversation you had with Detective Rodriguez, do you recall him asking you if there were any fences around, and you said no?
Ahora, ¿usted se acuerda en la conversación que usted tuvo con el detective Rodríguez? El detective Rodríguez le preguntó que si había cercos y usted dijo que no.
Cuando estaba el caballo, donde estaba ya de las armas habladas, sí.
When we were being shot at, I did say there was a fence there.
And if I can have the witness take a look at the exhibits, that same transcript, for counsel table of the witness. Can you see that on your screen?
¿Alcanza a ver eso en su pantalla? Yes.
And do you see at line 16, the question where the detective asks you, are there trees, fences, buildings?
Line 16?
Yes, that's where it is in Spanish.
¿Alcanza usted a ver en el renglón 16, donde dice, ahí en la calle es de tierra, hay árboles, cercos, and building?
That's the one.
Es ahí, esa renglón.
Do you remember being asked that question?
¿Usted se acuerda que le hicieron a usted esa pregunta?
Sí.
Yes.
And you responded and said no.
Y usted respondió y dijo no.
Your response was
That
no. Is that correct?
Su respuesta fue que no. ¿Es correcto? Yes.
But today you're telling us there's a house, there's a fence, and there's the border wall, all right there in that area where the shooting happens, correct?
Usted dijo que no, pero ahora nos está diciendo que había una casa, que había un cerco y que estaba el muro de la frontera ahí cerca en el área, ¿verdad?
Pero esto fue después de los disparos.
But this right here was after the shots were fired.
You think you're being asked in this interview about what happens after the shots are fired?
¿Usted cree que esa parte de la entrevista es que le preguntaron después de los disparos? Yes.
So today what you're saying is these 3 things are in that area where the shooting is. The fence, the house, the border wall.
Entonces ahora usted está diciendo que estas 3 cosas estaban ahí en el área donde los disparos. Un cerco, una casa y ahí cerca estaba el muro de la frontera.
Sí.
Yes.
Olivia, we can take that down. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. She's confused him. She's confused us. I'm sure the jury is scratching their heads. he does not appear to be confused. Like he has an answer for every situation for what he understands. So I don't think he's following the conversation from one question to the next.
Okay. So in this shooting, you were talking earlier about how shots just start being fired. Is that right?
En ese disparo, usted dijo anteriormente que nomás empezaron que empezó a haber unos disparos. ¿Es correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you don't see anybody shooting at you at first. Is that right?
Pero al principio usted no ve a nadie que le esté disparando a usted. No.
So somebody just randomly starts firing at you and Gabriel. That's what you're saying.
Entonces alguien de repente aleatoriamente les empieza a disparar a usted y a Gabriel. Eso es lo que usted está diciendo. Yes.
And the house, I believe you said, was to your left when this is happening. Is that right?
Y la casa, creo que usted dijo que la casa le quedaba a su izquierda cuando esto estaba pasando. ¿Es correcto? The one with the pine tree?
Are there more houses around you when this shooting happens?
Hay otras casas alrededor suyo cuando esto está pasando.
Yo tengo una casa
just the pine tree house.
No, it's just one house that I've talked about. That's the one that I mentioned. The one house.
Okay, so that house, is that to your left when the shooting happens?
Bueno, y esa casa le queda a su izquierda cuando le empiezan a disparar.
De norte a sur sí me quedaba a la izquierda, pero los disparos salieron de la derecha.
From north to south, yes, it was to my left, but the shots were being fired from the right, or coming from the right.
That's what I'm asking you. The house is to your left, and the shots are coming at you from the right. Is that correct?
Eso es lo que le estoy preguntando. La casa le quedaba del lado izquierdo, pero los disparos venían del lado derecho, ¿correcto? Yes.
And the horse is also to your right, in between you and where the shooting is coming from. Is that right?
Y el caballo también le queda a la derecha. El caballo está entre usted y de donde vienen los disparos and the shots.
Okay. And I believe, what was the horse doing? Tell me what the horse was doing.
Y dígame por favor qué es lo que estaba haciendo el caballo.
El caballo brincaba, pero ya cuando Gabriel me dijo me diera, nomás se agarró el pecho y volteó a ver así. Y ya pues yo nomás lo que hice fue que dije algo así, y ya pensando yo que a mí me habían, que yo estaba golpeado también porque me caí.
Very
lucky.
Yes, I was jumping, and then that's when Gabriel told me I'm hit, and he grabbed his chest, and so that's when I prayed to God, and at first I thought I didn't know if I was hit, and so I fell, and that's when I ran to the wash.
Okay, the horse, did anything happen to the horse?
El caballo. Algo le pasó al caballo.
Pues yo no supe de los sustos, de lo asustado y lo nervioso que ya estaba, yo no supe si quedó muerto o quedó vivo, pero yo lo único que le di gracias a Dios fue y al caballo porque me iba a salvar. Porque no sabía si los disparos venían sobre mí también.
Yes, well, I don't know. I was so afraid and I'm so nervous that I don't know I didn't know then if the horse had died or if it was alive. I just thank God and the horse for saving me. I didn't know if I was hit then.
So you don't know if the horse died or got injured in this incident?
Y entonces usted no sabe si el caballo se murió en este incidente o si estaba lesionado. I didn't know because I didn't see him again.
When you spoke with Detective Barba and Sheriff Hathaway about this incident, you told them that the horse died. You recall making that statement?
Cuando usted habló con el detective Barba y con el sheriff Hathaway sobre este incidente, usted les dijo que el caballo se había muerto. ¿Se acuerda de eso?
Yo dije que el caballo caía y se volvía a levantar y relinchaba y que yo ya no supe si debía pegarlo a él porque a mí yo ya había corrido por el arroyo y que todavía no había, yo ya no miraba el caballo si estaba muerto o estaba vivo. Nunca dije que estaba muerto.
What I did say was that I saw that the horse fell and then got up and then it neighed, but I didn't know if he was hit because I just ran and I ran to the wash and I didn't see the horse again, so I didn't say he was dead or not.
But you told Detective Barba and Sheriff Hathaway that this horse died.
Pero usted le dijo al detective Barba y al sheriff Hathaway que el caballo se murió.
No, sí que se había muerto, que a lo mejor a él le había tocado también, ya que yo, que Dios sí él me había puesto en el caballo porque no lo había contado.
I didn't say that he had died. I said that I thank God and that horse, because if it hadn't been for the horse, I wouldn't be here telling the story.
So he was on the other side of the horse, and he thinks the horse got hit, and it fell, but he's not sure if it died, but the horse did not get hit.
And can we show the counsel and the witness what's on the screen?
The horse was actually checked out and it was fine, and no injuries.
Can you see that?
¿Alcanza a ver eso? Yeah.
And that is Exhibit H.
Ese es el elemento de descarga H.
And that's a transcript of the conversation that you had with Sheriff Hathaway.
Y esa es la transcripción de la conversación que tuvo usted con el sheriff Hathaway.
And if you could take a look at lines 19 and 20 and line 25.
Y si puede ver por favor los renglones 19 y 20 y el renglón 25.
Tell me if that refreshes your recollection about what you said about the horse.
Dígame si eso le refresca su memoria sobre lo que usted dijo del caballo.
Yo dije el caballo, no sé, que no sabía si estaba muerto o estaba vivo, porque el caballo yo ya no lo volví a mirar porque yo no me cagando, yo pensaba que también
I told them that I didn't know if the horse was dead or not because I didn't see the horse again because there was still shots being fired and I didn't know if I was hit.
But you did say that the horse dropped right there. You recall that?
Pero usted sí dijo que el caballo ahí cayó. Sí dijo eso, ¿recuerda eso? Yes, that it fell, that it dropped there, but I didn't know if it was dead or alive.
And Valeria, we can take that down. Thank you. I'm sorry, can you put that right back up? Thought I was done, but I'm not. Can you see what's on your screen there?
Señora, lo que está en la pantalla ahí.
And I'm looking at line 4 and 5.
Estoy viendo renglones 4 y 5.
Can you read that to yourself and see if that refreshes your recollection about what you told Sheriff Hathaway about the horse?
Puede leer eso y ver si eso, al hacer eso, le refresca la memoria sobre qué es que usted le dijo al Sheriff Hathaway sobre el caballo.
Be safe, Melissa.
And did you tell Sheriff Hathaway, but the horse, he did shoot it. He must have shot it too, because I saw the horse rear up backwards and then forwards. Do you recall making that statement to Sheriff Hathaway?
Usted se acuerda que usted le comentó al Sheriff Hathaway que usted dijo, pero el caballo, sí, ha de haber también pegado al caballo porque él brincó para arriba y luego para atrás.
Do you recall making that statement?
¿Usted se acuerda de haber hecho esa declaración? Yes.
So you didn't tell Sheriff Hathaway that the horse died, but you definitely said he must have shot it. He did shoot it.
Entonces, usted no le dijo al Sheriff Hathaway que ha de haber muerto. If the interpreter could have repetition, please, Your Honor.
Sure. You might not have told Sheriff Hathaway that the horse died, but you did tell the Sheriff Hathaway he did shoot it, meaning the horse. The horse was shot.
Puede que usted no le dijo al señor al Sheriff Hathaway que el caballo se murió, pero sí comentó que le había pegado al caballo.
El caballo brincaba y que pues, dijeron que a lo mejor me había pegado, me había zapado porque como ya cuando el Gabriel dijo me vieron, yo salí corriendo y el caballo siguió relinchando, brincaba para atrás y brincaba para frente y peleamos.
Well, so the horse jumped, and I figured that he probably saved me because when Gabriel said I've been shot, I went running and the horse continued to jump up and down and also neigh.
When the shooting takes place, you see Gabriel fall down. Is that correct?
Cuando suceden los disparos, usted lo ve a Gabriel caerse, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you're standing one step behind Gabriel. We can take this down, I guess. Sorry. You're standing one step behind Gabriel when Gabriel gets shot. Is that correct?
Y cuando le dan a Gabriel, usted está parado un paso atrás de él.
Sí.
¿Cierto? Yes.
So you were behind him when he got shot, correct?
Entonces, cuando le dieron a él, usted estaba atrás de él. Yes.
And I know you said the house is to your left and the shooting's coming from your right. Where is the border wall?
Y ahora yo sé que usted dijo que la casa estaba a la derecha de usted y luego los disparos venían de la derecha. De la derecha. ¿Dónde está el muro? The wall? Sorry?
I'm just trying to figure out which direction are you facing when the shooting takes place. When Gabriel gets hit and he falls backwards, which direction are both of you facing?
Lo que estoy queriendo averiguar es que la orientación de ustedes.
That's a good question.
Que venían, iban dirigidos.
Orient ourselves.
El momento en que le dan a Gabriel y se cae, ¿en qué dirección están?
Al sur.
To the south.
You're facing south.
Están hacia el sur.
So the border wall is in front of you, correct?
Entonces el muro de la frontera está delante de ustedes, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And it's about 2 football fields away, correct?
Y estamos hablando de 2 canchos de fútbol, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Una distancia de 2 canchos. Yes.
I don't know how the state can get a conviction on this. This is
He
tough.
falls over backwards, is that correct?
Y cuando Gabriel se cae para atrás, ¿cierto?
Sí, se agarró el pecho y cuando dijo
Yes, that's right. He falls, grabs his chest, and he said, I've been hit.
And he falls towards you because you're behind him, correct?
Y se cae hacia usted porque usted está atrás de él, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
You could see his eyes when he fell backwards, correct?
Te podía ver los ojos de él cuando él se cayó para atrás, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes, I noticed that his eyes go to the back of his head, like that.
How did he land? Did he land on his back?
¿Cómo quedó? Se quedó, o sea, quedó en el suelo, en la espalda, boca arriba.
Así, boca arriba.
He ended up like this, head up.
So he landed on his back.
Entonces se quedó en la espalda.
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. And then you jumped over him, correct? And kept running?
Y luego usted le brincó sobre él y siguió corriendo.
Sí.
Yes.
At some point, you looked back to see the person who was shooting at Gabriel. Is that correct?
En un momento usted dio la vuelta para atrás para ver y vio al señor que estaba, que le había dado al Gabriel, ¿cierto? Yes.
And how far away were you when you looked back and you saw the person?
¿Qué tan lejos estaba usted cuando usted dio la vuelta y vio para atrás y lo vio a la persona y la vio a la persona?
Pues sí, como le digo, es una, ya casi llegando al muro, yo hacia que bajé el arroyo, porque en el arroyo me iba escondiendo y volteaba a ver para atrás a ver si me miraba.
Momentico. So I was almost at the wall because I went down into a wash and I was hiding in the wash and I was looking there.
Okay. Let me break that down a little bit. So,
Así vamos a hablar paso a paso sobre eso.
2 football fields away, that's the border wall, right?
Estamos hablando de lo largo de dos canchas de fútbol, dos campos de fútbol, ¿correcto? Es la distancia entre donde estaban ustedes y el muro, ¿correcto? Yes.
You say you first hide in a wash. Is that right?
Y usted dice que primero se escondió en el arroyo, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
And how long are you hiding in that wash?
¿Cuánto tiempo está escondiéndose en el arroyo?
Iba corriendo.
I was running, but along the wash.
Okay. So where is the wash taking you?
¿Dónde es que lo está llevando a usted el arroyo?
El arroyo, corrí, y yo más le pedí a Dios y le decía, Dios, ayúdame para llegar luego al muro, por favor.
I was running, I was just asking God to please help me so that I could get to the wall.
So you're running in the wash to try to get to the wall. My question is, at what point do you look back to see what's happening with Gabriel?
Bueno, entonces usted está corriendo por el arroyo, intentando llegar al muro. Mi pregunta es, ¿en qué momento da la vuelta para atrás para ver qué está pasando con Gabriel?
En lo que subí del arroyo, que subí a lo alto, fue cuando yo volteé a ver para abajo.
So when I got out of the wash and I was higher up, that was when I turned around.
Okay. So you can't see from inside the wash because it's low. So you
No puede
run.
ver desde adentro del arroyo porque estamos hablando de un lugar más bajo, ¿cierto? Yes.
So you
Yes,
run,
I couldn't see anything from the wash.
so you run for a while in the wash, and then you climb out of the wash, and you look back.
Entonces corre un rato mientras está por el arroyo y luego sube del arroyo, trepa el arroyo y luego da vuelta en ese momento.
Sí.
Yes.
And you're almost at the wall at this point,
The
correct?
wash is like a
Y
mini
casi está
canyon.
en el muro en este punto, en este momento,
Sí.
¿cierto? Yes.
How far are you from the wall when you look back?
Cuando usted da la vuelta para atrás y ve qué tan lejos está del muro usted.
Pues casi igual, como una hora y medio, campo de fútbol y medio.
It was almost the same, 1 or 1.5, the lengths of 1.5 football fields. Soccer fields.
Okay, I'm asking about when you looked back. You said when you were with Gabriel when the shooting happened, the wall is 1 or 2 or is 2 football fields away. When the shooting happens, correct?
Ahora estoy preguntando sobre cuando es que usted dio la vuelta para atrás. Usted mencionó que cuando estaba usted con Gabriel, la distancia entre donde estaban ustedes y el muro fue una distancia de como 2 campos de fútbol, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
My question is, after you run away, the shooting happens, you're running away, you go into a wash, you climb out of a wash, now how far are you from the wall?
Entonces mi pregunta es, ya después de que usted se va corriendo, ya están sucediendo los disparos, usted sigue corriendo, usted baja el arroyo, sube del arroyo, ahora, ya en ese momento, ¿qué tan lejos está usted del muro?
Me faltaba como medio campo para llegar.
About a half of a soccer field.
So you're much closer to the wall when you look back, correct?
Está mucho más cerca a la pared ya cuando usted da la vuelta para atrás para ver. Yes.
How far away was Gabriel when you looked back?
Cuando usted dio la vuelta para atrás, ¿qué tan lejos estaba Gabriel? ¿De dónde estaba usted?
Como le digo, ya tiene como un campo y medio para atrás.
Like I was saying, he was about a soccer field and a half away when I turned around.
And is that the same distance that you see the person, meaning not Gabriel, the shooter?
Y así es la misma distancia de donde está usted y la otra persona. Y cuando digo persona, me refiero no a Gabriel, sino al que estaba disparando. Tirador.
El tirador no lo miré.
Shooter,
cuando estaban tirando no lo miré. Miré a una persona cuando yo volteé a ver para atrás, ya miré donde yo había salido corriendo, donde estaba Gabriel, donde era la persona que andaba ahí.
The shooter, I didn't see him. When the shots were going off, I didn't see Gabriel, and I didn't see the shooter until after the shots, and I had run away.
That's what I'm asking. How far away are you when you see the shooter?
Sí, es lo que estoy preguntando. ¿Qué tan lejos está usted de Gabriel? De cuando usted ve el tirador.
De como a 1.5 de campo.
1.5 soccer fields.
And is that person, the person who you believe is the shooter, is he standing over Gabriel's body?
Y esa persona, la persona que usted cree que es el tirador, está encima del cadáver de Gabriel.
Ahí andaba cerca.
He was there close.
How close?
¿Qué tan cerca?
Lo asustado y el miedo que yo tenía no recuerdo muy bien.
Being that I was so scared and that I was so frightened, I really don't remember well.
Okay, but he was very close to where Gabriel was, is that correct?
Está bien, pero estaba muy cerca de donde estaba Gabriel, ¿cierto? Yes.
And I think with Detective Rodriguez, you described the shooter as standing over Gabriel's body. Do you recall that?
Y creo que cuando usted estuvo con el detective Rodríguez, usted lo describía como que el tirador estaba parado encima del cuerpo de Gabriel. ¿Usted se acuerda de eso?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You also said, I believe you described to Detective Rodriguez seeing a vehicle arrive at the end of the wall. Do you recall that?
Creo que también usted le describió al detective Rodríguez que usted había visto un vehículo que llegó al final del muro. ¿Se acuerda de eso? Yes.
So you saw a vehicle at the end of the wall when the shooting was taking place, is that correct?
Entonces usted vio un vehículo al final del muro, donde, perdón, at the end of the wall. Usted vio un vehículo donde termina el muro.
I'm going to try to explain this as soon as we get a break.
Estaban los disparos, ¿cierto? At that point, there wasn't any shooting going on.
Right. My question is, when the shooting happens, so you're saying when the shooting happens, you can see the end of the wall, and there's no vehicle at the end of the wall while the shooting is happening.
Mi pregunta es esto: cuando están sucediendo los disparos, usted puede ver el final del muro y ve que no hay ningún vehículo. Yes.
But when you got to the end of the wall, there was a vehicle there. Is that correct?
Pero cuando usted llega al final del muro, sí había un vehículo ahí, ¿correcto? It arrived.
It arrived, and I think you said that you tried to flag it down or gesture to point to where this shooting was happening. Do you recall that?
Y creo que usted mencionó que intentó señalarle al vehículo que había un tiroteo, ¿verdad? Yes.
So you did that when you got to the end of the wall, is that correct?
Así que hizo eso cuando usted llegó al final del muro, ¿correcto? Correct, yes.
Did you see the person in this vehicle? Did they acknowledge you in any way? What happened with the vehicle?
Y usted vio a alguna persona en el vehículo, la persona en el vehículo le dio de entender que lo vio a usted. ¿Qué sucedió con el vehículo?
No sé si me miraron, pero yo sí lo miraba a ellos porque yo estaba cerquita del muro porque estaba tirado y estaba levantado el susto y los nervios y el cansancio de la situación.
I don't know if they were able to see me, but I did see them right at the end of the wall. But I was lying flat out from both being scared, tired, being super nervous.
Then you went back into Mexico, correct?
Luego ya después, regresó a México, ¿correcto? Yes.
And when the shooting happened and you ran away, you didn't stop, right? You kept running.
Y cuando sucedieron los disparos, usted salió corriendo y no paró, siguió corriendo, ¿cierto? Yes.
You kept running until you crossed the wall back into Mexico, correct?
Usted siguió corriendo hasta que usted cruzó el muro y regresó a México, ¿correcto?
Me paré antes de como al campo y después de los disparos, ya que pararon de disparar, yo corrí y fue cuando subí a lo alto y fue cuando miré, pero todavía no cruzaba el muro.
Well, I did stop when I was about a 1.5 football fields away, and that was when I got out of the wash and I looked. I did stop for that, and then I kept running.
So you stopped for just a second or so to look back, is that correct?
Y entonces usted paró un segundo o 2 segundos para voltear, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
How long did it take you when the shooting happens, you start running, until you get back into Mexico? How long did that take?
¿Cuánto tiempo tardó entre cuando suceden los disparos y para que usted regrese a México?
Como media hora.
Like a half an hour?
Media, 15 minutos, porque
If the interpreter may, Your Honor. ¿Media hora o 15 minutos?
Antes de llegar a la
before I got to the border, 15 minutes running the whole time.
So it took you 15 minutes to cover a distance that's 2 football fields?
Entonces le tardó 15 minutos para cubrir una distancia de 2 campos de fútbol.
Sí, pero tampoco no tomé tiempo porque yo lo que quería era salvar mi vida.
Yes, but I also wasn't keeping time. What I wanted to do is I wanted to save my life.
So you agree you can run over the length of a football field very quickly, right?
Usted está de acuerdo que puede caminar, que uno puede correr bien rápido el largo de un campo de fútbol, ¿cierto? Yes.
Especially if you're scared, right?
Especialmente si uno tiene miedo. Yes.
Especially if someone's shooting at you, right?
Especialmente si alguien me está tirando balas, ¿cierto? Yes.
How long does it take you to run the length of 1 football field, for example?
¿Cuánto tiempo le tarda para correr el largo de un campo de fútbol, por ejemplo?
Yo no tomé tiempo porque no había cansancio de me golpeaba y lo que yo quería era buscar cómo salir porque el muro estaba muy alto y tuve que correr toda la iglesia para llegar a la.
So, well, as I said, I wasn't keeping time. what I was able to do was turn. And again, what I was trying to do was I was trying to get away, and in addition, I had to take a right and keep running.
So it's not a straight line and it's not flat, correct?
Entonces no es línea recta y no es plano, ¿verdad? No es plano. No.
But you were still running as fast as you could, I would imagine.
Pero de todos modos me imagino que usted seguía corriendo lo más rápido posible.
Sí.
Yes. ¿Usted corrió directamente al final del muro o corrió al muro y luego tuvo que correr a lo largo del muro para llegar al final?
Tuve que correr a lo largo para llegar al final.
I had to run along the wall to get to the end.
So that might be why it takes longer, because you have to go around. Is that right?
Entonces a lo mejor por eso le tomó tanto tiempo, porque le tenía que dar toda la vuelta. ¿Es correcto?
Sí, por cruzando el arroyo, crucé todo el arroyo porque era plan donde lo disparó el arroyo, me quedaba como de aquí a la puerta. Ya me iba a agarrar el arroyo ya para correr el arroyo.
Los disparos y el arroyo estaban como de aquí a la puerta.
Sí.
Okay, so I had to go to the wash, start running on the wash. So where the wash was and where the shots were coming from was a distance from like here to the door.
Okay. When you were running along the wall, before you go around the wall, is the wall to your right or is the wall to your left?
Ahora, cuando va corriendo a lo largo del muro, ¿el muro le queda del lado derecho o del lado izquierdo?
A ver, del lado derecho, ¿cómo?
I don't understand. On the right how? If I'm running...
So you run to the wall first, right?
Okay. Usted primero corre y llega al muro, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
And then you have to run around it to get to the spot. You have to run along it to get to the spot where it ends, right?
Entonces, ya llegó al muro y luego tiene que correr a lo largo del muro para llegar a donde se acaba el muro. I'm running straight in front and the wall is on this side.
On what side?
¿De qué lado? ¿Izquierda o derecha? On the right side.
On your right side.
I don't know where the break in the wall is. I had pictured it on his left.
You never saw a weapon in this incident, is that correct?
En este incidente usted nunca vio un arma, ¿correcto? No.
But you heard shots, correct?
Pero escuchó disparos, ¿correcto? Yes.
Do you remember telling Sheriff Hathaway and also Detective Raul Rodriguez that this was what you refer to as a cuerno de chivo? Do you remember that?
¿Usted recuerda haberle dicho a Sheriff Hathaway y al detective Raúl Rodríguez que usted dijo que eso era de un cuerno de chivo? ¿Recuerda eso? Yes?
So you told investigators that the weapon that was used in this incident was a cuerno de chivo.
Y entonces usted le dijo a los investigadores que el arma que se usó en este incidente era un cuerno de chivo. Yes.
Is that a slang term for an AK-47?
Eso es jerga para una AK-47. I don't understand.
When you say cuerno de chivo, what do you mean?
Cuando usted dice cuerno de chivo, ¿a qué se refiere?
Porque el sonido es diferente a una.
Because the sound is different from that of a gun.
So you have heard the sound of a cuerno de chivo before, correct?
Entonces usted ha escuchado el sonido que emite un cuerno de chivo antes, ¿correcto? Yes.
And you recognize that sound?
Y usted reconoce ese ruido? Yes.
Because you've been present when somebody has fired this type of weapon before?
Porque usted ha estado ahí presente cuando alguien dispara ese tipo de arma. I've heard it during Christmas.
Is that Christmas in Nogales, Sonora, Mexico? Do people fire these weapons off?
En Navidad, en Nogales, Sonora, México, en las Navidades, la gente dispara estas armas.
Sí.
Yes.
And that's how you know what this is.
Y así es como supo usted que era eso. Yes.
So, celebration, holidays, people fire guns into the air in other countries, some in this country as well. And that's where he says he recognizes the sound of the AK-47, which has a distinct sound to it when it's fired. He says, I recognize that sound.
Oh, just one moment, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Whoa. How would they do that to us? We're going to turn the waterfall down just a little bit. Nice and quiet. Okay, well, this...
Let's take a minute after the recess. Why don't we do that?
Great
we'll
timing.
Take a recess about 2:45. We'll come back in 30 minutes, about 3:15. Again, gather in the jury room.
Judge is the first one out of the room. He's like, I'm out of here. See ya. He bails. Okay, it's break time. We get to explain what is going on here. Oh my goodness. All right, there are a couple issues that the defense has been able to bring to the surface here in this testimony. And let's start with the water. Okay, the water. There's a lot of questioning about the water. We've learned through this that when people are coming across the border, they bring with them food, they bring with them water, they might have some clothing or something to protect them from the elements. Generally, their packs are usually camouflage, and they carry the water. The witness says he was carrying 6 liters of water with him, and they hiked. He said for about an hour and a half up just north. They crossed and they just went into the United States. Then at that point, the guide that he was with reported that he had seen or they had heard the Border Patrol and people split. And at that point, he and Gabriel were together and decided to head back to Mexico. Even though they did not see the Border Patrol, but they decided to head back to Mexico together. The story gets a little convoluted. He's walked as far as he can. He's trying to escape the Border Patrol, so to lose the weight, he drops or dumps out his water. This is actually something that could help the prosecution in their case, because the bags being open or unzipped could have mean we unzipped and dropped the water bottles, that we got rid of the water, and that could explain why the pack was found with the zippers open. Okay, it's an alternate explanation instead of something from a drug use or money or cash or something in there. So he says they've stopped to rest. They're in this grassy area. They've stopped and drank out of a horse trough, which was about 10 to 15 meters away from the house. They drank out of the horse trough because he had used up all his water, even though he had a little flask of water left. And then the shooting started. When the shooting started, the horse really acted up. It reared forward. It was neighing. He believes the horse fell, and his companion Gabriel says, "I'm hit," and he falls backwards, and eyes roll back in his head, and he's gone. It was very quick. He is at the time that happened. He says Gabriel was in front of him. They were both facing south, which would make the bullet have to enter the back right-hand side and out the chest, which I believe does match what the state is trying to say. Okay, they're facing south, but Gabriel was found face down, I believe, and not back down, but he fell backwards, and he jumps over him and runs down into. He says one time he says he jumped down a little cliff. One time he says he went down to the arroyo or the ditch. And a ditch. This is not like, it's like a mini. Let's pull the map up here. This is great. Okay, so there are a couple problems with his measurements, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But the house, you remember the, yes, I do have smoots on here as our unit of measurement. We have smoots. But the house is right here, and here's the little background, the gazebo, they call it pergola, and the shots are fired somewhere from this direction. So this red line, according to the state, if you remember that little weird little shaped picture that was taken by a bunch of drone pictures put together, that's the approximate distance, 115 yards, or what is that? I think that is 1,261 smoots from the house. Roughly 440 feet or something, right? I have to convert this here to feet so I can understand. I'm on the wrong one. Never mind. Ignore that. I'm measuring to the border right now, which is a little different. We'll do miles, or let's do kilometers. There we go. For our international friends, we'll do kilometers. So this is where the body was. Okay, so we have to orient things based on the body, because it's not alleged that the body was moved at all from when the shooting took place. So he says initially he was 10 to 15 meters from the house, which is approximately right here when the shooting starts, way over here. By a little fence, there's like a horse trough. I think this might be a little horse shelter somewhere in this area. The shooting starts, and he runs. He jumps over the body, which ends up right here at the end of this red line, which he's shot, and he falls immediately. And then he runs down into this arroyo. There is a little canyon here. There is a little wash. See this? There's a little wash that goes along there. There's a road, a sagebrush road. And he says he runs, but not necessarily in a straight line, and he heads for the border. The border is way down here. Okay, so as the crow flies, it's 2.15 kilometers, or 1.13, I think it is, or sorry, 1.33 miles from where Gabriel's body is located to the border. Half an hour running this distance with a pack on his back, that makes sense a little bit. 15 minutes, no. What I will say is I don't think visibility-wise you can see the border wall from right here. I don't think you're able to see that. And even if you are, it's definitely not 2 football fields away. 2 football fields away would be closer to where this little pin is than the football field. It's just the numbers aren't adding up is what I'm getting to. It's not making sense. So the water dropped, that makes sense to me. The distances, the times I'm struggling with. He says the wall is visible about 600 feet away. His directions, I don't know where the wall was, and I don't know where the break in the wall is, if it's on the right or the left, so that doesn't make sense to me that way. But, man. What surprises me and doesn't seem like a reasonable conclusion is that without seeing Border Patrol at all, after paying $2,500 to get into the country, they decide, oh, never mind, we're going to get caught. Let's head back to Mexico. That to me is, it's just strange. It just seems strange. All right, where's the opening? I don't know where the opening is. If somebody familiar with the area, in this Keno area, could let us know, that would be great. We'll see if we can mark it on the map. There are parts of what he says that just rings true. Yeah, I think he was there. I think he was there with Gabriel when he got shot. I think his measurements are completely off. His remembrance of time is out the window, and probably distance as well. I've been in a situation where somebody was pursuing me and had a firearm and ill intent, and I can tell you that I jumped a wall, or I passed through a wall. I don't know how. I got over a wall that normally I would not be able to cover, and I don't even remember doing it. I remember looking back and the wall being between me and them, and knowing that I started on one side and I ended on the other. And so I can understand and give him some space to have that be true. But distance and time can be incorrectly estimated. Yeah, but Amy, I hear that. But when you say how many meters from the house were you when the shooting started, and he says 10 to 15 meters, and he gives us 10 to 15 of these, right? He's got his measurement, and it's actually 115 yards, 450 feet or something like that. Those are big differences. I think he has distorted memory from PTSD or something similar. Jim Bob, I've been in a foreign country before, right? I've been in a foreign country where I don't speak the language, and I like zero. I know enough to say something, and I'm not even sure what I'm saying. That's it. And in that situation, I've been in where people are talking to me, and they're talking about me, and I hear my name occasionally, or a little keyword that I get or I can pick out through the language that has similarities to my own language. And you know what I do in that situation? I smile and I nod, like I know what's going on, like an idiot. Okay, they could be telling me anything, and I'm like, yeah, you know. And I've been there, and I think what we have is this witness has been confused at every point of the conversations he's had, at every single point. And he's been saying yes, yes. And when they clarify something, he just agrees. If he doesn't understand, he agrees. And now he's being confronted with this and saying, no, I didn't say that. I thought something different. When he explains himself, if you give him the chance to explain himself, instead of just saying yes or no, it makes sense. He says, no, he was talking about this time. That makes sense. All his answers, every time he explains it, it's like, oh, that makes sense now that he says that. He has an interpreter, but I still think he's missing it. I'm not sure if he knows partial English, and in his head he's trying to mix what the interpreter's saying with what he's hearing in English. But I think he's genuinely confused, and the problem is, sadly, because I am more and more convinced that he was actually present when Gabriel was shot. I don't know. I have zero knowledge of or conviction as far as the defendant, if the defendant was involved, but I'm feeling like he was there when the defendant was shot. How he tells the story, everything else, it feels like he experienced that. This feels real. But unfortunately, his inability to articulate that consistently to different people might end up with his testimony being just a wash and it meaning nothing as far as the conviction goes, unless the jury feels the same. He won't mention the name of Ramon anymore. He won't. That was an interesting point. Right before lunch, and I forgot this. Right before lunch, he says that he remembers somebody by the name of Ramon in the group. Turns out of the pictures he was shown that he signed and said, I don't know this person, I don't know this person. One of them was Ramon. Quality RN, he is not on trial. I agree. He's not on trial. His testimony is. 100% his testimony is on trial. And the jury has to determine, based on all these factors, based on the truthfulness they perceive in him, whether or not to believe all, part, or none of that testimony. That's in the instruction the judge gave them at the beginning of the trial. So I mean, my heart goes out to this guy. Honestly, I have a soft spot in my heart for somebody who's looking to better their situation. And you're coming from Honduras, okay, where the average pay is $2,600 a year, to Mexico, where the average pay is $1,650 a year, hoping to get to the United States, where if he can find work, he might be able to make that in a month. Okay, and yeah, that's a dream. That's a dream come true for some of these people. I don't get the vibe from him that he is a drug mule undercover and he's just testifying and he's going to go back to keep running drugs. I don't get that vibe. I don't feel that. And maybe that's just me as a juror, you know, weighing in on what I observed from this guy. But yes, he did smuggle drugs. Not that sympathetic story. Sorry, Lizzie, I hear you. It was marijuana. I'm not a fan of marijuana, but realize that many places, many states grow it now and sell it to their residents. Yes, it was illegal at the time. It was federally. It's still illegal, but it's different than having, you know, a semi-truck full of fentanyl or something. I don't know. I've got to put some more thought into this. Princess Lukey, I'm just saying, $2,500 in a month. It's some of the work that they do. I say this because I'm familiar with people who hire immigrants who are just day laborers, and generally it's done on a cash-based basis. I worked in a field in an area where we had a Phoenix location, and a lot of the customers, the clients who would buy materials and build stuff, would hire temporary laborers, and they do it off the books, and the status wasn't checked, and it was illegal. It's wrong. Okay, it's illegal. But I'm just telling you that earning $2,500 in a month is very possible in that scenario, with no papers, showing up and saying, yes, I'm willing to do roofing, which was the field that he said he wanted to get into. He would do those jobs. That's very possible for him to make. All right. When he brought in the drugs, it was 2014, I believe. It was a while ago, quite a while. Man, I am conflicted on this. I really am conflicted. Some of what he says rings true, and I can hear in his voice that he's telling a very traumatic story and something he experienced. But the words he's using oftentimes with the distances, the times, the measurements, the locations, it's so very wrong. And maybe it's because he's 10 times he's tried to cross the border, right? Lenova, it was a little bit different. 10 times he's tried to cross the border. One of the times he brought drugs in instead of paying the $2,500 fine. They said, you can carry the drugs and then you don't have to pay, because he didn't have the money to pay. But he says one time he brought drugs, but 10 times he's been coming across the border, and every time he's been caught, except for, I guess, this one time, because he made it back over to Mexico. Oh, let's see who's on the phone here. Maybe you guys can help me understand this.
Call from K-Rab.
Hey, K-Rab. How are you doing? This is Scott.
Hi, Scott. I just want to make a comment, because I saw it come by a couple times, and we talked about it a little bit before, but the name thing. I think we all have been here so long, we kind of forget what it's like to be an immigrant. Mm-hmm. My family came over in like the 1850s, but I've done my ancestry, and I found that over a span of 100 years, my family had about 15 versions of the name. And that's not because we were trying to get in illegally, but because every time a census taker took the census, they changed the name.
However they decided to spell it, that was your new name, right?
However they heard it
yeah.
was how they spell it, because they were the literate one.
Yeah.
And that's still true today. However the person at the border hears the name, that's how they write it down. And the person coming across isn't going to argue with them. No matter what they say, they're going to say, yes, that's my name. And it's a little different recently because we're starting to do fingerprints. Mm-hmm. But that's just a little thing to think about.
Yeah, I agree. And we heard from the witness that his name change that happened to him was when he went from Honduras to Mexico. And Mexico gave him papers as coming in as an immigrant from Honduras. And
he's not going to argue with what Mexico wrote down.
They called me Lewis, so now I'm a Lewis, I guess. It's like, I've got papers now. This is a step further than I was when I was in Honduras. I'm a step closer to my dream. If I go back and fight this, I have to back up to the beginning, yep. Right? And he doesn't want to do that. And then he continues. But
I've literally found 15 different variations of the spelling of my family's name.
Yeah.
Some of them are still in existence and being used to this day.
Yep. Even so, I've got Scottish ancestry, and even in Scotland, I guess we change names as well. I guess maybe after a quick trip to the pub and then to go get married, they write the name down wrong. I don't know, but it happens all over the world. The name change is, I can hear that, and I don't fault him for that. I do think that his that when he testified previously and said that was his name, that he didn't do that to try to hide his identity.
I don't think so either. I don't I don't believe, I'm not saying that puts aside everything that's happened. I don't really believe all of the story. I just don't think that that's a major point in any of this. Yeah. Personally, I think that the state wants somebody to testify for them, and they promised him what they promised him, and he's like, sure, you want to give me citizenship? I'll take citizenship. But I don't like the defense either. I just don't. I think that state wants to convict somebody and defense wants to get their guy off. I haven't seen anything yet that proves either side.
Yeah. Interesting. K-Rab, thank you very much. I appreciate your insight into the name issue. It helps us understand a little bit better. Thank you for making the call. Good to talk to you.
All right, thanks.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Are you saying the Scottish people have a drink problem? Only that the glass never seems big enough, I think. No, just kidding. I've got a good friend who's Scottish. He actually reached out to me for my birthday. Connected. He's in Canada now. Shout out to Steele. All right. Let's see. Who said he's getting citizenship for his testimony? Beautiful Waterfall. We have not heard in this that he is. All we've said is that the state has laws. There are laws on the books in the U.S. where the state can, in return for cooperation and testimony, offer legal access into the country for not just the witness, but for their family as well. Those are laws that are on the books, and the state has gone to a great effort to bring this witness in, so it would be reasonable to suspect that that was something that was offered to him. All right. We've got a half-hour-long break, so a few more minutes here to discuss things. Technically, the defense doesn't have to prove anything. They don't. The burden is all on the state. And that's a tough burden. It's tough just because they don't have a bullet. They aren't able to say that, that they can prove that it came from that gun. Their best bet is to say, according to the story we have from this witness who is struggling to get directions and times and measurements right, we were facing right here when it happened, and then he fell, and so we can approximate that the shooting came from this house, which is where there were bullet casings. It's all circumstantial, but it might work for the jury.
Call from Melissa P.
Melissa P. Can you talk in a thick Scottish brogue for me?
Not my son can, but I cannot. My son even has a fiery red beard.
Really?
And so
it showed up in the genes. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, you can see the Scottish because of the red beard and the way he is, but he does impressions amazing. Me, not so much. But so yeah, I just had to tell you that about the Scottish thing because that was amazing when you said it, especially knowing that we're the same age. But
lots of similarities.
Yes, lots of similarities. We graduated high school the same year. But so I just had a question because I can't really be in chat. We've had bad weather going through. Did you say that they said he fell backwards?
He says, the witness, Daniel Ramirez.
That Gabriel fell backwards.
Fell backwards. But he was found forward. Okay,
because if he was shot in the back, especially if it's 7.62, he would have been knocked forward, not backwards.
Yeah.
So that's why I was trying to clarify, because my son and I were talking about this yesterday because I told him that they didn't exactly have a bullet, but my son's like, yes, but if the ammo, they can tell what kind of ammo it was, even if they don't have ballistics and the shot and all of that. And I tried to explain the terrain and how they wouldn't be able to, that there are shell casings anywhere, but he admitted to firing in the air. But when you were doing the recap and I heard that about he fell backwards, something my son said just kind of rang in my head and said, I just wanted to clarify to see if I was getting that correctly.
We haven't had the testimony from the medical examiner yet, but what we expect to hear based on what we've heard in the openings is that he was sort of shot sort of in the back and the side and exited the chest. The way I remember it is right to center. So back right to center. And that's the trajectory path. And they're also probably going to tell us that the bullet had an irregular entrance, meaning that it could have been tumbling from striking something else first. instead of being a clean, you think when a rifle bullet particularly,
Yeah.
they can punch a very clean hole on one side, and then as the bullet encounters obstacles, specifically bone, it gets misshapen, and the transfer of energy sort of spreads out, and it ends up making a larger exit than an entrance wound. But they're saying because of some characteristic of the entrance wound, we're going to hear that the bullet itself was modified or damaged in some way, or might have been tumbling in the air, which normal bullets don't, unless they've struck something. So
I gotta say, I think you're right that this case is going to be a sleeper, because it seems like, I need to hear the medical examiner's testimony, because things just, that last witness, while I feel for him, the defense was doing her job. You know, a man's life is on the line too, so I get all that, but I did feel for him, and the whole thing just, I'm hoping that witness that they're almost over with. I still can't believe this morning when the judge just kind of cut off mid-question. But
literally, it was halfway through the sentence. We're taking a break.
Yeah,
Lunchtime, see ya.
I've never seen a judge do that.
He's like, hey, I'm not a camel.
Yeah, right. I'm not a camel, so I've got to go. I felt like it was more squirrel kind of moment. He was just gone.
Yep.
But well, belated happy birthday. I'm glad you got your gift. I hope it helps with the remodel.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone has a great evening. And Greeners, my husband is sitting next to me and says there's no reason to fear him. Just saying.
Thank you, Melissa. Say hi to your husband.
That's what I'm talking about. Well,
all right.
you have a great evening.
We'll see
Thank
you.
you guys.
Bye. Perfect timing. We're just about ready to come back to court right now. Give us just a minute. From being shot in the air, that's what he said he did. Yeah, D-Nick, it couldn't work the way they shooting in the air from that distance. That bullet can travel 2.5 miles. Okay, so shooting 150 yards up in the air, it's not going to come down and travel through the body the way it did unless he was laying on the ground. And even then, it will be going up lots faster than it comes down. Just the way it comes down, and wind resistance and tumbling, it doesn't make sense to happen that way. All right, let's see. Let's go back to court, shall we? That would be nice. Let's see. Are we there? Yes, we are. Nina says, I just got the I'm not a camel original purpose. That was from Judge, I can't remember his name. It was in the Jensen trial. The Jensen trial. I'm not a camel.
This is not Burger King. People do not get to have it their way.
Does everyone think he was shot and died instantly without any movement? Jay, all we know is that the witness here has described that he said, I'm shot. He sort of does this motion. He says, Gabriel says, I'm shot. And he falls back and he sees his eyes roll up into his head. And it literally, we're probably going to hear that it actually went through his heart. So this would be a very quick death. So not something that you would get shot and then run some distance with. And I believe they're going to say there was no blood around the scene elsewhere as well. Court color is beautiful today. It was Zachariah Anderson trial? Was it Judge Schroeder that said he's not a camel? I could have sworn it was the judge in the Jensen trial, the retrial. Crystal, this is a great question. I guess they're filling out their brackets here. If he fell back, then how'd he end up face down? Well, did somebody move his body afterwards? Did the defendant move his body afterwards? Check his pack? Could it have happened? Probably.
Look at the schedule.
Description doesn't match the evidence. Found face up. Down. Yeah, the problems that are brought in with this testimony are significant. Enough so that the jury could have trouble believing any of the testimony they're hearing from this witness.
This is a very unusual day.
Ariel, this is an important witness. This is a star witness. Unfortunately, there's a major language barrier. Daniel Ramirez says he was with Gabriel when Gabriel was shot, and he's recounting this the best he can through interpreters and through some very, I would say, rigorous cross-examination. And the cross-examination questions are not translation-friendly, right? This is not simple questions made to be easy to be understood and answer. The questions are complicated. They have not innuendo, but inferences tied to them, and meanings, and all those other language parts that Red Pen can tell you about.
Did you hear the Blue Cross controversy?
Was that the original judge, Red Pen, or the one on the mistrial? Because the original judge had to recuse himself, right? There are double negatives. They've got, like, I think 2 or 3 translators that are rotating out, because this is tough work. Abil Blazy, yes, he clearly described that he was shot, that Gabriel was shot, and he said, "I'm hit," and he does this motion. He says, "I'm hit," and he falls back, and his eyes roll up into his head, and he lands on his back with his head up. And he says he did not move him. Prosecution has been leading on their questions. The defense is allowed to lead. The judge, I think, is letting the prosecution lead because of the difficulty in speaking and communicating with the witness. So they almost are allowed to treat him as a hostile witness. I think there are some Spanish-speaking jurors on there. I believe we have Spanish-speaking prosecutors and defendants, lawyers on prosecution and defense. We've heard actually from prosecution at one point, they said, "Wait, Judge, the word that the translator is saying, I'm hearing him say one word and the translator is saying something else." So we know that's the case, and I think also the defense has raised that same issue as well. And we haven't got into the texts very much at all, but those will make Mr. Kelly look very bad. Those will make him look very, very bad. Karen, what we understand from the prosecution is that the defendant is brought in to the United States each day to testify, and he was being brought in just for today and would be taken back to Mexico by the police. He goes south. Pocket and bag, interchangeable. Yes, the same word has been used by the defendant for both of those. There are some possibilities. It'll be interesting. The jury. Why? Why, cameraman? Clearly, cameraman normally works for the news. Oops. We all had our eyes closed. We didn't see anything. Now the judge comes in. Jury comes in first, then the judge.
Please be seated. Back on the record. All jurors are present. Counsel's present. The defendant's present.
Bringing the witness in. It's the bailiff who yells those orders to please rise. No headphones this time.
We can continue with your cross-examination this one.
Headphones back on, maybe?
Oh, no. Okay, sorry. I just have a few more questions. We talked about those photos
Kurt, welcome.
that were shown to you earlier.
Welcome on civilians as
Those are
well.
the only photos that investigators have shown you in this case. Is that correct?
Ahora vamos a hablar de las fotos de las que hablamos hace rato. Esas son las únicas fotos que los investigadores le enseñaron a usted, ¿correcto? Yes.
So they didn't ask you to identify anybody else, correct?
Y no le pidieron que identificara a nadie más, ¿verdad? No.
You mentioned that you had drank some water out of a trough, and I just wanted to ask, was there anything around that trough? Describe the area where the trough was.
Usted dijo hace rato que había tomado agua de un bebedero. Había algo alrededor del bebedero. ¿Me puede describir el área donde estaba el bebedero?
No sé qué. El bebedero fue yo nomás pasé y tomé agua. A ver, ese que le estaba dando tomé agua fue antes de los disparos.
Well, no, I don't know. I just drank the water and left, and the drinking of the water was before the shots were fired.
How far away was that location from the location where the shots were fired, approximately?
¿Qué tan lejos o cuál era la distancia aproximadamente del lugar ese al lugar de los disparos? Aproximadamente. I don't know exactly. I didn't have the time and I didn't measure the distance.
How long had you been running or walking away from Border Patrol before you drank out of this trough?
¿Cuánto tiempo llevaba usted corriendo o caminando, sacándole la vuelta al Border Patrol cuando usted llegó a tomar agua y el bebedero? Not too long. Not too long. I don't know, 10, probably 5 minutes. I didn't keep track of time.
Okay. What color was the trough? Do you remember?
¿De qué color era el bebedero? ¿Usted se acuerda? Just aluminum. It was like a trap for animals.
So it was metal?
¿De metal? Yes, aluminum.
Was it standing in a field by itself? Was it in a corral? Was it next to a fence? Was there anything around it like that? Or was it all by itself?
Estaba puesto ahí nomás solo, estaba puesto así en un lugar plano, estaba cerca de un corral, estaba cerca de un cerco, o estaba nomás ahí solo. El bebedero. There was a fence.
What kind of a fence?
¿Qué tipo de cerco? Wire.
Okay. Barbed wire fence?
Alambre puro. Yes.
No house or building nearby the trough, correct?
No había ninguna casa o algún edificio ahí cerca del bebedero, correcto. I didn't see any.
Okay. Going back to after the incident takes place, you go back into Mexico. Who is the first person that you told about what happened?
Ahora, vamos otra vez a cuando ya cruzó de regreso a México. Ya está usted de regreso en México. ¿Quién es la primera persona o a quién fue a la primera persona a la que le dijo lo que había pasado?
Pues no conozco a las personas, porque yo iba buscando ayuda, iba buscando ayuda.
Well, I don't know the people because I don't know them. All I was looking for is I was looking for help. I was trying to get help to somebody to take me to the hospital.
My question was, who is the first person that you told about what happened?
Mi pregunta es, ¿quién fue a la primera persona a la que usted le dijo lo que había pasado?
Mi respuesta es lo que le digo, que no, yo no sé quién era, porque yo nomás pedía auxilio porque ya el mismo susto ya no podía vivir, no traía más.
My answer is the same thing. I don't know who they were. All I wanted was help because I was so afraid. I felt it in my gut.
Are you talking about the people in the vehicle at the wall? Is that who you're saying?
Usted se refiere a las personas que estaban ahí en el muro.
Pero esa persona no, él no habla con ellos.
No, but I didn't talk to those people there, no.
Okay. Where were you when you told somebody for the first time about what happened?
¿Dónde estaba usted cuando le dijo a alguien por primera vez lo que había pasado?
En una terracería.
In a dirt road
Pero la dominicana.
on the Mexican side.
And who did you speak to?
¿Y con quién habló?
Con unas personas que ellas me sacaron a cierta parte de la carretera. Podía agarrar yo otro carro para
The people there and they gave me a ride to another place, to another road where I could get a car to go back.
So you were hitchhiking essentially?
Entonces básicamente usted estaba pidiendo ride.
auxilio médico.
I was asking for help.
Did you go to a hospital?
¿Fue usted a un hospital?
Sí.
Yes.
And so you told people at the hospital what happened?
Y entonces usted le dijo a alguien en el hospital lo que había pasado.
Dije a la persona que me atendió, porque en el hospital no me quisieron atender. Me mandaron con otra persona.
I told the person at the hospital they didn't want to take me in. They sent me to another person.
Okay. And who did you tell next?
Y entonces ¿a quién le dijo después?
La persona que me sobó porque era grave lo que yo tenía porque se me había caído la pipa.
The person that was massaging my stomach because I felt so bad because I had been so scared that my guts were all over the place.
And you don't know who that person is?
¿Y usted no sabe quién es esa persona? No.
When was the first time you told somebody who you knew what happened?
¿Cuándo fue la primera vez que usted le dijo a alguien que usted sí conocía qué fue lo que pasó? ¿Cuándo fue la primera vez que usted le dijo a una de las personas que usted sí conoce, a una persona conocida suya? ¿Cuándo fue la primera vez que le dijo lo que había pasado?
Pues yo a ninguna persona le había avisado, yo avisé a la gente que me había dado raya, pero no la conocía. Yo les dije, los atacaron a balazos en el caballo.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't tell anybody. The people that picked me up, the people that I hiked from, that's who I told them. I told them about the shooting, and I just said the Gabacho did that, the American.
Okay. You eventually spoke with law enforcement in this case, about this case, right?
Finalmente usted habló con agentes policiales sobre este caso, ¿verdad? In Mexico?
I mean, here.
Nowhere. I didn't speak to the police or anybody.
You spoke with investigators in this case from here, correct?
Usted habló con investigadores de este caso, investigadores de aquí, ¿verdad? Yes.
How did that take place? How did that come about?
¿Y cómo se vio eso? ¿Cómo pasó eso? I don't understand. How?
How did you come into contact with law enforcement in this case?
¿Cómo fue que usted llegó a tener contacto con agentes del orden público, investigadores, sobre este caso? ¿Cómo se contactaron?
Porque me buscaron.
Because they looked for me.
Who looked for you?
¿Quién lo buscó?
La familia de Gabriel.
Gabriel's family.
Gabriel's family looked for you.
¿La familia de Gabriel lo buscó a usted? Yes.
How did they know that you were with Gabriel when this took place? How did they know to look for you?
¿Cómo sabían ellos que ustedes dos, cómo sabía la familia de Gabriel que ustedes dos andaban juntos? ¿Cómo sabían ellos que lo tenían que buscar a usted?
Porque ya habíamos estado, porque estábamos trabajando y ya sabían que nos íbamos a buscar, veníamos a buscar el sueño americano.
Because we had been working together, they knew we were working, and they knew we were coming here looking for the American dream.
You testified earlier that Gabriel did not know that you were going to go meet with the smuggler that day, and that you did not know Gabriel was going to be there. Are you changing that testimony?
Anteriormente usted testificó o dio su testimonio, dijo que Gabriel no sabía que usted se iba a ir a ver con el que iba a contrabandear y que usted no sabía que Gabriel también iba a ir. Está cambiando su historia ahora. I didn't say that.
You didn't say that in court today.
¿No dijo eso hoy aquí en el tribunal? No.
So now you're saying that Gabriel's family knew that you were going to cross with Gabriel on January 30th, 2023. They knew about that.
Entonces lo que usted está diciendo es que la familia de Gabriel sabía que usted iba a cruzar con Gabriel, van a cruzar la frontera en enero del 2023. La familia sabía
Que íbamos que íbamos para Phoenix.
that we were going to Phoenix.
They knew you were going on that day.
Ellos sabían que ese día se iban a ir.
No sabían qué día los íbamos a ir.
They didn't know what day we were going.
So then how would they know to contact you about what happened?
Entonces, ¿cómo sabía la familia que se tenía que comunicar con usted para saber qué había pasado?
Porque ya fue cuando ya estaba muerto, cuando ya estaba ya estaba Carlos y ya la gente estaba viendo lo que estaba pasando y ya la gente empezó a averiguar.
Because he was dead already, and because they started seeing all the experts and things that were going on, and so they started asking.
Who contacted you specifically?
Específicamente, ¿quién se comunicó con usted?
Una persona que se llama Juan Carlos.
A person named Juan Carlos.
Who is that?
¿Quién es esa persona?
Perdón, no sé.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
So somebody who you don't know contacted you to talk about Gabriel.
Una persona que usted no conoce se comunicó con usted para hablar de Gabriel.
Me buscó en usted, pero yo estaba enfermo.
He looked for me in my village, but I didn't talk to him because I was ill.
So how did he contact you?
¿Cómo se comunicó con usted?
Por medio de la imagen y ahí del pueblo, a nivel local.
By word of mouth with the people from the village. From the people from the village, they started asking.
So my question is, when did you speak with Juan Carlos Rodriguez?
Entonces mi pregunta es, ¿cuándo habló usted con Juan Carlos Rodríguez?
Ellos me buscaron porque la gente dijo que yo estaba enfermo porque me han atacado a balazos.
They started looking for me because people started talking that I was ill, that I had been attacked, that I had been fired at, and so they knew that it was me, the one that was with him.
But how did he contact you? Did he call you? Did he show up someday to talk to you? How did this person, Juan Carlos, contact you?
Pero ¿cómo se comunicó con usted, esta persona, este Juan Carlos? ¿Cómo se comunicó con usted, este Juan Carlos? ¿Le habló por teléfono? ¿Llegó en persona? ¿Cómo se comunicó con usted?
Porque no sé,
¿En persona?
Ellos fueron y me buscaron porque la misma gente del pueblo sabe que yo estaba ahí en el pueblo, me pidieron que me tenían que quitar.
It was in person, I don't have a phone, and so they came looking for me, and the people in the village, they knew where it was, and then they came to me. They were looking for me.
Okay.
Says he doesn't have a phone.
So Juan Carlos comes to your house someday. He just shows up and starts to talk to you about this case. Is that how this happened?
Entonces un día llegó Juan Carlos a su casa y empezó a hablar con usted, así fue como pasaron las cosas. I was still at the house with the lady that was doing the massage on me because I wasn't well yet.
And Juan Carlos came to talk to you at that house?
Y Juan Carlos fue a hablar con usted ahí a casa de esa señora.
Solo me dejó dicho que necesitaban hablar conmigo de este lado.
He just left a message like they needed to talk to me on this side.
You left a message with who?
Él dejó un mensaje con quién.
Con la señora que estaba ahí. Me estaba sobando porque que para poder reconocer el cuerpo de Gabriel.
With the lady that was massaging me, because they needed me to come to this side to identify Gabriel's body.
And when you got that message, what did you do?
Y cuando usted recibió ese mensaje, ¿qué hizo?
Pues todavía no estaba yo mis
I wasn't all there yet.
He said he had a phone earlier.
Entonces no hizo nada todavía. No.
So then did Juan Carlos arrive another day after leaving this message?
Entonces Juan Carlos llegó otro día después de que le llegó el mensaje.
Ya me había la señora me dijo cuando me habían dicho que si me podría estar positivo para ver para quitar el cadáver.
Yes, no, that's the lady told me that they were looking for me to testify to ID the body.
So you learned that someone was looking for someone to testify.
Entonces usted supo que alguien estaba buscando a una persona para que testificara, para que diera su testimonio.
Para que yo supiera dónde que yo mirara dónde estaba tirado.
So that I would see where he was lying, where he was.
Can you clarify that for me? They were looking for you so that you could see where he was lying? What does that mean?
A ver, aclárame esto. Ellos lo estaban buscando a usted
He's frustrated.
para que usted viera dónde él estaba tirado. ¿Qué quiere decir eso?
No, porque yo venía con él, porque yo andaba con él, porque nosotros veníamos para el norte y éramos los únicos que sabían que nosotros estábamos que éramos los dos juntos conocidos, los dos que los conocían.
Because they knew that we both together were coming north because we were the only two that knew each other.
Who's they? What do you mean? Who knew that?
¿Quién sabía eso? Cuando dice ellos sabían, ¿quiénes ellos?
Pues no sé quién más.
No, I don't know who else.
You didn't tell Gabriel's family about what happened, right? They came and found you. Is that correct?
Usted no le dijo a los parientes de Gabriel lo que había pasado, ¿verdad? Ellos vinieron a usted.
No sabía dónde vivía. No sabía dónde estaban, si vivían porque ya habían cambiado de casa. Así era conocido.
Because I didn't know where they lived. They had moved from the house that I had met them. And so I didn't know where they lived.
And you didn't have anyone you could ask to try to find out where they were?
Y usted no tenía a quién preguntarle para averiguar dónde estaban ellos. No, because I didn't know anybody else.
And you didn't go to the authorities in Mexico about this at all, did you?
Y usted no fue a hablar con las autoridades en México para nada, ¿verdad? No.
Why not?
¿Por qué no?
Porque no, yo no podía hablar ni podía caminar bien.
Because I wasn't able.
No estaba yo en mis cinco sentidos porque yo estaba mal, porque yo no aguantaba ni todo los nervios.
Because I wasn't well. I wasn't in my five senses. I couldn't stop vomiting. My nerves were a wreck.
I can show you what's been marked.
I think he got giardia.
EE.
It sounds like he got sick from the water he drank.
Te voy a enseñar lo que se marcó como elemento de prueba E.
Can you see what's on your screen?
¿Puede ver lo que está en la pantalla, señor? Yes.
Is that Gabriel?
Ese señor que está ahí es el señor Gabriel?
Sí, pero no traía ese radio.
Yes, but he didn't have that radio.
And does he has a radio. You see a radio with Gabriel?
¿Tiene una radio ahí? ¿Ve que hay una radio ahí con Gabriel? Yes.
And Judge, we just asked to publish.
The camera should not be
Not
showing
yet,
this,
it's
but
part of the
content
bigger
warning.
exhibit, but we laid the foundation for this photograph. There are a number of photographs in the exhibit, and we laid the foundation for other ones with another witness. Then we will ask to admit.
So she wants to publish before it's admitted. I prefer to have it admitted. I mean,
It's not going to offer.
I can do a separate one. So this is it's a duplicate, but it's labeled JJ. So we moved to admit JJ and
That's a duplicate of ED.
Yes, it's the same thing, but it's labeled separately.
Okay, so this is a paperwork issue. The other picture was included in a group of pictures, but they only wanted to show
JJ is in, and you can publish it to the jury.
Okay, not for us, not for us. Oh my goodness. Okay. I guess this one's okay. He's not deceased. I thought it was
Judge, may I approach to blow it up a little? Pictures. Thank you.
So apparently the zoom button only works for one person.
Do these clothes look similar to the clothes that Gabriel was wearing when you were with him on January 30th?
La ropa que está viendo en la foto parece parecida a la ropa que él tenía puesto el día que estaba usted con él, el 30 de enero. No.
He was wearing different clothes?
Llevaba ropa diferente. No, yes, but I wasn't with him. I don't know. I wasn't with him there.
You described wearing tan pants when you were with Gabriel, correct?
Usted describió que cuando usted estuvo con Gabriel, él llevaba pantalones colores de café claro, ¿cierto? Yes.
That picture is a picture of the victim in this case.
Y en esta foto lleva pantalones de color café claro, ¿correcto? Yes.
Are you saying that his shirt is different? He was wearing a different shirt when he was with you?
Está diciendo que la camisa es diferente que cuando estaba con usted, él llevaba una camisa diferente. Yes.
Tell me about his shirt when he was with you.
Cuénteme sobre la camisa que él llevaba cuando estaba él con usted.
I don't know when the picture
Well, I
is.
don't remember it very well, but it wasn't like that.
What about the hat? Do you remember if he was wearing that hat when he was with you?
Y el sombrero, ¿usted se acuerda si tenía una cachucha, un sombrero como lo que lleva en la foto? No.
He did not have that hat when he was with you?
Cuando él estaba con usted, él no llevaba ese sombrero, esa cachucha, no.
And when he was with you, he did not have the radio?
Y cuando él estaba con usted, tampoco, no llevaba radio, no.
When he was with you, he did not have the binoculars?
Y cuando él estaba con usted, no llevaba binoculares, no.
And you don't remember if he did or didn't have a fanny pack with him when he was with you?
Y usted no se acuerda si llevaba cangurera o no cuando estaba con usted. No.
And you don't know what he's doing in this picture, correct?
Y usted no sabe qué está haciendo en esta foto, ¿correcto? No, I don't know.
I don't have any other questions, John.
Redirect the state.
Ooh, back to redirect. Here we go. This should take us to the end of the day here, I think. I think it's more of a translation issue for me. I mean that.
We're going to start with
communication.
A photo, Daniel, which is Defense Exhibit JJ. You see that on your screen still?
Vamos a empezar con esta foto, Daniel, que es prueba de descargo, otra foto. ¿Usted ve la foto en la pantalla? Señor? Yes.
You have any idea when that photo was taken?
¿Usted tiene una idea sobre cuándo es que se tomó esta foto? No.
Been taken a day before, a week before, a month before, correct? You don't know.
Could have, if the interpreter may, could have been taken.
Could have, yes, sir.
Puede que se tomó la foto una semana, un mes, un día antes. No sabe. I don't know.
All right, Dan, I'm gonna go back to almost the beginning. This environment is new to you, right? This courtroom is new to you.
Muy bien, Daniel, voy a retroceder casi al principio. Este ambiente de una sala de tribunal es nuevo para usted, ¿verdad? Yes.
I mean, we have a jury, we have a TV camera, we have people in the audience all looking at you.
O sea, hay un jurado, hay una cámara de televisión, hay personas en el público y todo el mundo está viendo a usted. Yes.
We're asking you questions. Would it be fair to say a traumatic event in your life?
Estamos preguntándole preguntas sobre un evento traumático, si se puede decir, en la vida de usted. ¿Correcto? Yes.
You testified earlier on cross-examination.
Usted testificó antes en contrainterrogatorio que
That you heard the gunshots.
usted escuchó los disparos. Yes.
And it sounded to you like an AK-47.
Y que esos disparos sonaban como disparos de una K-47. Yes.
Explain to the jury why an AK-47 is familiar to you, the sound.
Explíquele al jurado por qué es que usted conoce el sonido de una K-47.
Porque he escuchado perdón, he escuchado que suena en las navidades y ahora están aquí exactamente se prolongado en la frontera.
Well, because I've heard them at Christmas and also, with all of the fighting that's going on at the border, you hear them often.
Do you remember on cross-examination being asked about legal and illegal entry into the United States? Do you remember those questions?
¿Usted se acuerda cuando le estaban diciendo en contrainterrogatorio que le hicieron preguntas sobre entrada ilegal, legal a los Estados Unidos? ¿Usted se acuerda? Yes.
Do you remember the question and answer relating to being deported if you went through what we call port of entry through the legal process in the U.S.?
¿Usted se acuerda de la pregunta y luego la respuesta sobre ser deportado si es que usted entrara por el puerto legal de los Estados Unidos? Puerto de entrada, o sea, proceso legal de los Estados Unidos. Yes.
What deportation were you referring to?
Cuando usted mencionó deportación, ¿a qué se estaba refiriendo? I don't understand.
What country are you from?
¿Usted es de qué país, señor? I'm from Honduras.
Do you have legal status in the country of Mexico?
¿Tiene una situación legal en México? No.
Were you concerned that if you were found out that you'd be deported from Mexico back to Honduras?
Estaba preocupado usted, señor, si que le iban a deportar de México a Honduras.
What was his answer?
¿Y la respuesta, señor? I was afraid.
So it's a scary thing to be here testifying with the possibility that you may be deported back to Honduras upon return to Mexico.
Objection.
Are you concerned about testifying here?
O sea, ¿usted está preocupado sobre dar testimonio aquí? Yes.
Do you remember the questions on cross-examination about your prior conviction?
¿Usted se acuerda de las preguntas durante el contrainterrogatorio que tenían que ver con condenas anteriores? Don't remember.
Where you brought in marijuana and you were convicted in the United States for the transportation of marijuana?
Cuando usted trajo marihuana en Estados Unidos y lo condenaron aquí en Estados Unidos por haber transportado marihuana. I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Sure. It's been a long day, Daniel. Do you remember the conviction you received for the importation of marijuana? I think you said roughly 2014.
¿Usted se acuerda de la condena que le dieron por haber traído marihuana aquí en Estados Unidos? Creo que usted mencionó que más o menos el año que sucedió eso fue 2014. Yes.
And the name you used, the name under the conviction, do you remember the name?
Y el nombre que usted usó en esa condena, ¿usted se acuerda del nombre? Yes.
What was the name, Daniel?
¿Qué fue el nombre que usted usó, señor Daniel? Daniel Alberto Ramírez Ruiz.
Ruiz, okay. Have you ever hid that fact that you used that name?
¿En algún momento ha escondido el hecho de que usted usó ese nombre? No, hiding it, no. Ramirez is the only thing. Ruiz is not my last name.
That name, Ruiz, comes from a Mexican ID that you received in Mexico.
Ese apellido Ruiz viene de una identidad mexicana que usted recibió en México. Yes.
And you're not disputing that the conviction in 2014 was you, are you?
Y usted no está disputando que esa condena del año 2014 se trataba de usted, ¿correcto? Yes. Yes.
As a matter of fact, the 8 or 9 times you were deported from the United States, what name do they attribute to you?
De hecho, cuando usted fue deportado de Estados Unidos, las 8 o 9 veces que usted usó, ¿qué nombre fue que usaron? Daniel Alberto Ramírez Ruiz.
And you've never disputed the fact that that was you?
Usted nunca ha disputado el hecho de que usted era esa misma persona. I was that same person.
Let me ask you about, there were some questions on cross-examination about payment, about coming into the United States.
Ahora quiero hacerle unas preguntas sobre las preguntas que le hicieron durante el contrainterrogatorio sobre pagos para llegar a Estados Unidos.
You testified that you paid I think on cross-examination, you paid each and every time.
Usted testificó, creo.
It's possible he didn't have legal Mexican
Usted había
paperwork either.
pagado cada vez.
Is that true?
¿Cierto? Yes, I paid.
We just want to make sure we understand the payment.
Nada más quiero estar seguro que todo lo entienda la cuestión del pago.
Defense counsel asked you, and they used the number, I think, 10 times. That you crossed 10 times and you paid 10 times. Do you remember that?
La abogada defensora le preguntó y creo que usó el número, dijo 10, usó el número 10, que usted había pagado, había acusado 10 veces y había pagado 10 veces. ¿Se acuerda de eso? 8 times.
And of those 8 or 10 times, did you pay cash every single time?
Y de esas 8 o 10 veces pagó usted en efectivo cada vez.
No todas las veces, porque digamos, una vez que si me agarraban, pues ya con los rehenes ya me daban más tiempo y perdía porque.
Not every single time, because if they got me, if I was caught, an interpreter is going to ask for repetition. Si le agarraban, ¿puede repetir, perdón?
Si me agarraban, pues porque si me agarraban, volvía a repetir el
Because if I was caught, then we were going to go back and repeat the same thing.
So they had
We're going to use the word, you got a credit. That'd be,
you get a refund. You get a credit if you get caught.
so to you paid every single time.
Así que para según usted pagó cada vez.
Is that right?
¿Cierto?
Sí.
Yes. I feel like vomiting.
You want to take a moment?
¿Quiere tomar un segundo, señor? Yes.
The witness feels sick.
Daniel, do you need to go to the bathroom?
Señor Daniel, necesito usar el baño. Yes. My nerves are getting the best of me again.
I think the judge might call the day here, but I don't know. He's only here for one day.
Witnesses at the courtroom to go to the restroom. Before I decide what to do next, did you all talk among yourselves about the start time that we talked about yesterday? She had a spokesperson right before 8:30.
8:30 is good. Don't make it any later.
Let's see.
Confer with
Also,
it. He's going to confer. It's going to get loud here. Mic's off. Sound on. Okay. So he's asking the counsel right now what the plan is, because this was supposed to be a one-day testimony. What happens if he doesn't come back? I can tell you what happens if he doesn't come back. The testimony gets thrown out because they've asked additional questions of him that the defense is not allowed to, or is not given an opportunity to cross-examine. He's going to come back. I think he's honestly sick. We'll give him a minute. Okay, what we can see from this redirect once again is that prosecution, this is their witness, right? They're still struggling to get the evidence or the testimony they want from him, and sometimes he's answering in ways that they have to explain or go back and listen to, and redirect, reframe.
We're we're going to see how quickly the gentleman can return and what his condition is when he returns. We'd like to try to finish this witness today, and therefore he can get on his way. But if he's not feeling well enough to continue, then we'll wait.
The witness has been visibly frustrated
Anyone need
towards,
to get up and stretch?
towards the end of this. He's rolled his eyes a number of times and been frustrated. Even before the translation comes to him, he understands at least a few words when they ask for clarification on something. Ouch. Without warning. They know they have a hard time getting him back. He didn't get sick until they talked about his drug dealing conviction. No, I don't think so. He's talked about this before. I think he's honestly sick. I would be sick. I just anytime I'm called to testify in court, I'd just get nervous. I participated as a volunteer in a mock disaster. Okay, this fun little story time, squirrel moment. Yes, I didn't willingly participate. I was ordered to participate in a mock disaster, not from the courts, but from the school, like a citizenship penalty. See if he comes back. And like to work off an unsatisfactory citizenship grade, I had to be a volunteer in this disaster. And after they did me up as a victim with all sorts of burns and stuff on my arms, fake burns, and broke glass all over me, and put me in a car, strapped me in, broke the windshield over me, and lit the car on fire. I went into shock. So I knew it was fake, but
the prosecutor thinks he's got about 30 minutes of redirect questioning, and if that's the case, we'll be able to wrap this witness up, assuming he's able to go forward. Let's see what's here.
I wasn't the best of students, Abby.
Let me talk to us. Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Muy buenas tardes, señor.
Thank you for letting us know you were not feeling well.
Gracias por decirnos que no se sentían bien.
How are you feeling right now?
¿Cómo se siente ahora en este momento? The thing is that my nerves are getting the best of me. I'm remembering what happened and
well, the prosecutor, this gentleman here, thinks he has about 30 minutes for questioning for you. And then you would be done as a witness. You can either go forward today, finish it up today, if you feel well enough. But if you really don't feel well enough, to feel like you're able to answer questions, understand the questions, articulate an answer, and we will recess for the day, come back tomorrow, and you finish up your testimony tomorrow morning. I'm leaving that to you. Tell us, only you know how you're feeling.
Let's go on.
All right.
Can you pull up Exhibit 17 on your thing? Daniel? Mr. Ramirez. Daniel, did you remember the questions asked by defense counsel about roads and the wash and seeing a road and seeing houses? Do you remember those questions on cross-examination?
Daniel, ¿usted se acuerda que el abogado defensora le hizo unas preguntas sobre caminos, el arroyo, si usted vio unos caminos, si usted vio unas casas? ¿Usted se acuerda de esas preguntas durante el contrainterrogatorio?
Yes.
And do you remember counsel asking you a specific question from a transcript you had with Detective Ramirez? in February. I mean Rodriguez.
¿Y usted se acuerda que la licenciada le hizo unas preguntas específicas sobre la entrevista o la transcripción de una entrevista que usted tuvo con el señor Ramírez, no, I mean Mr. Rodríguez, el señor Rodríguez en el mes de febrero del año 2023? Yes.
Those questions are centered around timing and what you saw when you saw it.
Esas preguntas tenían que ver con el plazo de tiempo, cuándo es que usted vio ciertas cosas, ¿cierto?
Specifically, you got that.
That I saw, like...
Well, I'll ask the question.
Yo voy a hacer la pregunta.
Is Rodriguez's interview State Exhibit 17? I have a 17 label here. Just for us. Just for us. Oh, this one will come up to me today. That's not me.
Okay. Do you want to see what she has on her computer?
I was just going to follow along. That's
Because
fine. I've got the transcript.
we've been doing our best to try to delete comments
Right, Daniel? Page
that are
51?
inappropriate all day.
Página 51.
Let's give our mods a break here.
Yes.
Do you see the question and answers starts off, I believe, around line 13 and goes down to about line 21? Do you see those questions
Usted
and
ve que
answers?
hay unas preguntas y luego respuestas, empezando en el renglón 13 y luego hay que bajar hasta como 21. Usted ve esas diferentes preguntas y respuestas. Yes.
And you remember testifying on cross-examination about that, correct?
Y usted se acuerda que usted dio testimonio durante el contrainterrogatorio sobre eso, ¿correcto? Yes.
We'll go back to page 49 to give this some context. Can you go to page 49?
Quiero regresar a la página 49 para dar algo de contexto sobre esto.
Starting around line 13, I want you to read line 13, and I want you to look up when you're done reading through the end of that page.
Quiero, empezando más o menos en el renglón 13, quiero que usted lea, empezando en el renglón 13 hasta el final de la página, y cuando usted termine de leer, quiero que me vean.
Okay, so
From 13 to where?
To the end of the page.
Empezando en el renglón 13 hasta el final de la página.
I'm going to ask you to read the next page,
Ahora
page
voy a
50,
pedir que usted lea la siguiente página, página 50.
and look up when you're done.
Y quiero que usted busque levante la cabeza ya cuando haya terminado.
I like the volume level of this translator a little better than the previous ones. Other ones I felt like they were yelling the translation back and forth.
You done?
Ya acabo, señor. Yes.
A little bit more reading, now to page 51. I want you to read down to line 21.
Hay que leer un poquito más, por favor, si puede leer hasta el renglón 21, por favor.
Okay.
Done? So that question on page, referring to page 51, that question on line 16,
Entonces, la pregunta que se trató del renglón 16 en la página 51,
asking you about trees and fences and buildings,
preguntándole sobre cercas, edificios y árboles,
asking if you saw any,
preguntándole a usted si usted vio alguna cosa así,
and your answer in line 20 was what?
y la respuesta que usted vio en el renglón 20, ¿qué fue la respuesta que usted dio? No.
Are they referring to the shooting, page 49 through 51, or are they referring to when you're in the wash running away?
Y durante las páginas 49 a 51 se están refiriendo al tiroteo en sí, o cuando usted está en el arroyo huyéndose.
Cuando llegué cuando lo del tiroteo y busqué esconderme en el arroyo.
It was with the shooting, what I did was I went to hide myself in the wash.
I think what we're seeing
We'll
is a
talk
cultural
about, remember the
difference in
questions?
how he answers the question.
About the horse.
Ahora quiero hablar sobre el caballo. ¿Se acuerda de las preguntas que tenían que ver con el caballo?
Council, I know this exhibit has not been admitted. That's why you're not seeing it. No one's offered it, it hasn't been admitted. A lawyer can show anything to a witness to try to get them to refresh their recollection. They're just trying to refresh their recollection. So, I mean, if I had a pen and I was trying to help you remember the name of a doctor and the doctor had given me the pen, I could show you the pen. Say, it doesn't have anything to do with anything, it's just a pen, but does that refresh your recollection? The council, I mean, for all practical purposes, a few pages that have been involved here, cross-examination or redirect, I think we practically read it word for word anyway. So if there's an objection, we won't do it, but why don't we just admit those pages at least? Whatever happens to the rest of the exhibit, show it to the jury.
I got no objection, pages 49 through 51.
Right?
I'd object on hearsay, Your Honor.
Pages 49 and 51.
Yeah, the objection is hearsay.
All right. Then it won't be admitted.
Judge was offering an easy way out.
All right, Dan, do you remember the questions on cross-examination about the horse?
Entonces, Daniel, ¿usted se acuerda de las preguntas durante el contrainterrogatorio que tenían que ver con el caballo? Yes.
And you had a good look at that horse on the day of the shooting, right?
Y el día de los disparos usted pudo ver bien el caballo, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
What color was the horse?
¿De qué color era el caballo? Red.
And then, was there any markings on the horse?
Y el caballo tenía algunas marcas. White in its forehead. On its forehead.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked as Government Exhibit 120A and 120B, not to publish.
Y le voy a enseñar unas fotos, lo que son los elementos de prueba 120A y 120B.
I'm going to object to the witness seeing that photograph at this time. It's, again, an unduly suggestive identification of the horse.
Overruled.
Witness gets to see the horse. Now that you see this picture, can you describe the horse in more detail?
Overruled.
You see that picture on the screen, Daniel?
¿Alcanza a ver esa foto ahí en la pantalla, Daniel? Yes.
That's Government Exhibit 120A.
Ese es el evento de cargo 120A.
I'm going to show you Government Exhibit 120B.
Y le voy a mostrar ahora el elemento de cargo 120B.
There's both Government Exhibit 120A and B, fair and accurate representations of the horse you saw on January 30th.
Los elementos de prueba A, 120A y 120B son una representación justa y fiel del caballo que usted vio.
Hold on a second. What was the?
Un momento.
It's leading, Your Honor.
Overlook. It's foundation. Thanks.
What was your answer, Daniel?
¿Cuál fue su respuesta?
Sí,
Yes, that was the horse.
Your Honor, move to admit Government Exhibit 120A and B into evidence.
Any objections other than those already made?
Just the same objections, Your Honor.
All right. What are they again? 122?
120A and 120B.
I'm sorry, 120A and 120B are admitted and they can be published.
So now we get to all see the horse. There it is. That's the red
128, right,
horse.
Daniel? That's the picture of the horse you saw?
Esa es la 120A, ¿verdad, Daniel? ¿Es la foto del caballo que ahorita vio? Yes.
It's made a miraculous recovery. The state asked if they can recross, and the judge said no.
Esa es la foto 120B.
That picture of the same horse?
Es una foto del mismo caballo. Yes.
Do you remember the examination questions asking you about whether or not the horse was shot and killed?
¿Usted se acuerda en el interrogatorio anterior las preguntas que le hicieron sobre que si el caballo le habían disparado o lo habían matado? Yes.
I'm going, on your screen it should be not for publication. On your screen it should be a transcript of one of the interviews you did that defense counsel asked you about. Do you see that on your screen?
Aquí en la pantalla usted puede ver una transcripción sobre la entrevista de la que estaba hablando la abogada con usted. ¿Ve la transcripción ahí? Yes.
And for the record, it's Government Exhibit 19.
Es el elemento de carga 19.
And can you see the question and answer starting on line 19?
Usted ve ahí las preguntas y respuestas empezando en el renglón 19.
Actually, on 18.
Bueno, en el 18.
And I'm going to read the question to you. And the horse, do you know what happened to it?
Le voy a leer la pregunta. Dice, ¿y el caballo? ¿Usted sabe qué pasó con él?
And you see your response?
¿Y alcanza a ver ahí su respuesta? Yes.
Your response is, well, the horse, well, it dropped right there. I'm saying it dropped right there too, because since he kept on shooting.
Su respuesta dice, pues el caballo, pues ahí cayó el caballo. Yo digo que ahí cayó también, porque como él siguió disparando. Yes.
And the officer responds, okay, and?
Y el agente dijo, okay, y?
And your response is, the horse was dead, comma, I think. It must be dead right there too.
Y su respuesta fue, el caballo, creo, estaba muerto. Ahí ha de estar muerto también. I believe, I thought.
And on page 9,
en la siguiente página, en la página 9,
actually, I'm going to go on page 8. Sorry, last question on page 8.
la última pregunta en la página 8, ¿eh?
Officer asks you, but you don't know if. You see that question or comment?
Dice, pero usted no sabe si es que, ¿verdad? ¿Ve ese comentario ahí?
And it goes on to the next page, if the horse is dead.
Pero luego sigue en la próxima página.
And the officer asked, was it able to gallop off or... Do you see that?
Y la pregunta dice, ¿y pudo salir galopeando o
And your,
alcanza a ver eso?
and your response was, it ran, limping, hobbling, you know, but the horse, he did shoot it. He must have shot it too, because I saw the horse rear up backwards and then forwards.
Y su respuesta fue, corrió, manqueaba, estaba como manqueando, pero el caballo, yo estoy segura que sí le dio, le debe de haber pegado también, porque el caballo yo vi cuando relinchó para atrás y luego para enfrente. Así contestó usted. Yes.
Was that event chaotic? The shooting?
Ese momento de los disparos fue un momento muy caótico. Yes.
And you're seeing a lot of things happening around you, right?
Y usted está viendo que hay muchas cosas que están pasando a su alrededor, ¿verdad? Yes.
And the horse, is the horse between you and where the shots are coming from?
Y el caballo está entre usted y de donde vienen los disparos. Yes.
But because you just saw Gabriel die, you don't know what happened to that horse.
Y como
Sustain.
You don't know what happened to that horse.
Sustain question, sustain.
I'm just asking yes or no.
That's a leading question.
The objection is fleeting.
You don't know what happened to the horse?
What's not leading is what happened to the horse.
Daniel, what happened to the horse, if you know?
si usted sabe qué fue lo que le pasó al caballo.
No supe porque ahí a un lado del caballo fue donde quedó Gabriel.
I didn't know because right next to the horse, that's where Gabriel fell.
Remember the discussion, questions about direction on cross-examination?
¿Se acuerdan las preguntas y la discusión que hubo en el contrainterrogatorio sobre direcciones? Yes.
North, south, east, and west?
Cuando hablaron de norte, sur, este y oeste. Yes.
I just want to make sure we're crystal clear. When the shots are being fired, which direction are you going?
Nomás quiero que quede claro como el agua. Cuando empiezan los disparos, ¿en qué dirección iba usted?
Como al sur.
Towards south, ahead of us, towards the south.
And what do you see south? As you're going south, what do you see in the distance?
Y cuando usted va en dirección al sur, ¿qué es lo que alcanza a ver a lo lejos? The wall.
You're referring to the border wall.
Y el muro se refiere al muro de la frontera. Yes.
And as you're going south, and the shots happen, I want to use your right and left. As you're going south, which direction are the shots coming at you from? Right, or left?
Ahora, cuando usted va corriendo al sur.
The objection asked and answered multiple times.
It's redirect. You can answer on redirect.
Cuando usted va corriendo al sur y oye los disparos, quiero que use sus manos y me diga. Cuando usted va corriendo al sur, oye los disparos, ¿de qué lado venían los disparos? ¿De la derecha o de la izquierda? De la derecha. From the right.
Stories fitting more the
questions about
state's
distance
theory right now.
Ahora, ¿recuerda las preguntas que le hicieron sobre la distancia? Distancia. Yes.
what a meter was, right?
Lo que era un metro. ¿Te acuerdas que le preguntaron que si cuánto era un
Sí,
metro?
pero como yo
Yes.
no tenía tampoco, yo no tenía tiempo tampoco de tomar el tiempo.
But also I didn't have the time to take measurements.
I'm not going to ask you about measurements.
No le voy a preguntar sobre medidas, no se preocupe.
In your estimate, Daniel, and we haven't talked about this, in your estimate, what's the distance from where you're sitting to the end of the courthouse?
I'm not going to ask you about measurements.
What's the distance in meters?
What's that
Más o
measurement?
menos, y usted y yo no hemos hablado de medidas y de esto, pero dígame, más o menos cuánto calcula usted en metros, que son de ahí de donde está usted sentado a donde se termina la sala de audiencia. En metros, ¿cuánto cree que es? About 10 meters.
That's 10 meters?
Son 10 metros. That's what I say. I don't know.
Okay. And then from the moment where you heard the shots to the wall, how far are you saying that is?
Ahora, del momento en el que usted escuchó los disparos al muro, ¿qué tan lejos dice usted que es?
2 canchas de fútbol jugado. Pues es lo que yo tomé en cuenta más seguro.
Like 2 football fields, that's what I figured, I don't know.
Daniel, do you play football, soccer? Do you play?
Daniel, ¿usted juega fútbol, soccer? Yes.
And you've run that football field,
¿Y usted ha corrido un campo de fútbol? Yes.
unless you're the goalie,
A menos de que sea el portero.
right?
That was funny.
Yes.
So imagine running full length of the field and back. Can you imagine that for me?
Ahora imagínense correr de un extremo del campo al otro y luego de regreso. Imagínense eso.
You can imagine that, Daniel?
¿Se lo puede imaginar, Daniel?
Espantado, pero asustado y con miedo.
But, well, it's tiring, but one when is tired and afraid is just one runs really fast.
Sure, Daniel. My question was, can you imagine doing one distance on the football field and then running back? You can imagine that.
Está bien, pero la pregunta es nomás, ¿usted se imagina correr de un extremo del campo al otro y luego de regreso? ¿Se lo imagina? Yes.
Is that the distance from where the shots happened to the wall?
Esa es la distancia de donde fueron los disparos hasta el muro. No, it was more.
You have a hard time with distance and understanding measurements?
Batalla un poquito con entender las distancias y las unidades de medida. Yes.
Do you remember the questions on cross-examination about clothing?
Ahora, ¿recuerdan las preguntas que le hicieron en el contrainterrogatorio sobre la ropa? Yes.
When people...
Council, stop for a second. Let's get on this.
Okay, so prosecution has 30 minutes here. He's asking questions, and he's asking questions in a manner that if somebody was a native English speaker, it might make sense. But the translation, the couching of the question, the way he's asking it, this is super confusing. And so he's struggling to get the answer he wants out of his own witness. But he did finally, I think he broke through the confusion about the distance from the... Somebody flushed, or maybe this is a picture of the horse we're hearing. He did manage to get through the confusion about the distance from where the shooting took place to the wall, to say it was farther than that. And then they're like, "Oh, you have a hard time with measurements, right?" Yeah. We're hearing the horse picture, the first horse picture.
Daniel, thank you very much. much. That's all the questions I have for you.
Gracias, Daniel. Ya no tengo más preguntas para usted. That's all?
Not yet.
Un momentito.
Jurors, do you have any questions for the witness?
Ahora, el jurado tiene preguntas.
We have some questions, which means we're going to hear the static again. See if we can get a count on these. Possibly 3. Static, please. There we go. Okay, question number 1. I'm thinking I saw 3 in the at least 3, I'd say. So it turns out that the courtroom does not have a white noise machine. They just have a large bucket that they pour in the janitor's closet with a microphone. So I've never heard an actual waterfall as white noise before. I've always just heard like pink noise. This is the worst. This is the worst ASMR ever. I'm trying to look at the reflection of the judge's glasses and see how many papers are in front of him. At least 3 questions, possibly 4. We will get to hear the questions if the judge and the counsel agree that they're legitimate questions. The jury has asked a lot of questions that really are not for the witness that's on the stand at the time. So the judge has told them, hey, wait till the right witness is up. That's a good question. But I'm nervous. Is that just in my headphones or is that actually happening? What time was it? You said you saw. I bet we could lip read that. I bet we could. We've got a good view. Oh man, it's a nice trout stream. Anyone want to go fishing? There's probably like a fish tank in the judge's office that's just constantly filtering water. There's a microphone there. It's like turn on the fish tank. Need some white noise. Maybe a fountain in the lobby. Okay, here we go.
Back on the record. So, sir, we have a couple of questions from the jurors.
Okay, we'll count those as they come.
In your testimony, you originally stated that it was getting late when you crossed. But then you stated that you crossed at 12 o'clock. So which statement is accurate and what time was it when you crossed?
I told you to say what time.
This is referring to crossing into the United States. Is that correct?
Muy bien. Al principio de su testimonio, usted dijo que ya se les estaba haciendo tarde para cruzar. Eso es para cruzar a los Estados Unidos. Pero luego dijo que cruzaron como a las 12. Entonces, ¿cómo que se les había hecho tarde? ¿Se les hizo tarde o cruzaron a las 12?
Cruzamos a las 12 porque se la estaba haciendo tarde porque para caminar esto ya era más por el sol y todo eso. Pero
it was getting late. We crossed at noon at 12, and it was getting late because the crossings, those are usually earlier because of the sun and all the walking.
So noon is late.
Another question. When Gabriel got shot, what time was it
What time was it?
During the day when Gabriel said, I'm hit.
¿Qué hora era? Cuando le dispararon a Gabriel, cuando Gabriel le dijo, me dieron. ¿Qué hora era? I don't know the time exactly, but it was about 2:30 or 3 because the sun was already to the side.
There's a question by one of the jurors about the date of what was the date of the last photo provided by the defense? Technology should locate this. And there's the reference, I think, I'm sure, the photo that was identified as being the victim, Gabriel, in his clothing. That date, I'm told by the lawyers, will be provided. Foundation for that information about the date of that photo, when it was taken, any other information on it, will be provided by another witness. So let's wait for that witness. All right, then the witness stated earlier today that during his testimony that he jumped over the victim's body when he started to run.
Yes.
Was he wearing carpet booties? Can he tell us if the victim's head was to the right or to the left, or head at his feet? Victim face up, yes or no? I'd like to have the witness clarify this.
That juror just...
Durante su interrogatorio, más temprano, el testigo dijo que había brincado por encima del cuerpo de Gabriel. Yes to jumping over the body of Gabriel's body. Traía puestos los zapatos esos que le ponen el bajo alfombra para no dejar huellas. Esa es una pregunta. Not to the carpet booty. He was not wearing carpet booties.
Carpet booties are worn by drug smugglers to hide their tracks.
Your Honor, this is the interpreter. In the part of the question that says the head wasn't to the right or to the left, that is Gabriel's body?
Well, it says to his head, to his right or left, or at his feet. Let's see, this is juror number 11.
This is the victim's head to his right or his left.
To the witness's head or left?
Cuando cayó Gabriel al piso, ¿okay? La cabeza de Gabriel le quedaba a la derecha de usted o a la izquierda? To my left. And then el cuerpo de Gabriel estaba boca arriba o boca abajo cuando cayó?
Cuando cayó así, boca arriba.
Bueno.
Como yo corrí por encima de él, ya no sucedió, como si se movió.
Yes, when he fell like this with facing up. But after that, I had to jump over him, and so I don't know what happened after that, because what I was thinking is that I had to save my own life.
And talking about the witness, the interview of this witness that took place at a hotel in Nogales, Sonora, did everyone who is speaking part of the conversation speak Spanish? And if not, who translated for Daniel? Or does he know who translated for him, if someone had to translate?
La entrevista esa que tuvieron tuvo usted en un hotel en Nogales, Sonora, ¿se acuerda? En esa entrevista, ¿todas las personas que estaban ahí estaban hablando español o tuvo usted alguien que le tradujera?
No, español. Nomás estaba Rodríguez y Bárbara.
They spoke to me in Spanish. In Spanish, yes. The only people there were Rodriguez and Barba.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from any of the jurors for this witness? I've seen none. I have the questions to the clerk. Now, the lawyers are allowed to ask follow-up questions to the questions of the jurors. So I'm going to see if we have any follow-up questions. We'll start first with the state, Mr. J.
Sure. Daniel, you got no idea what happened. Do you have any idea what happened to Gabriel after you left, you ran away?
¿Usted tiene idea de qué pasó con Gabriel después de que usted se fue? ¿Qué le pasó a él después de que usted salió corriendo?
no, pues ya estaba yo tenía que mandar con un celo, así que me tranquilo, pues ya yo quería salvar mi vida y los caballos seguían tranquilos, pues, el barranco.
No, well, I saw the blood there and I just saw that. I wanted to save my life. The horse was there, he was neighing, and then I just jumped to a cliff onto a wash.
And just one more question. When you ran away and you looked back, you saw someone standing in the area where Gabriel was at, right?
Ahora, una última pregunta. Cuando usted salió corriendo y luego se detuvo y volteó, usted vio a una persona que estaba ahí cerca del cuerpo de Gabriel, ¿verdad? Yes.
No questions.
Any follow-up questions from defense?
Real quick, did you tell Detective Rodriguez that you crossed the border and returned into Mexico at around 6 p.m.? Do you recall saying that to Detective Rodriguez?
¿Usted se acuerda si usted le dijo al detective Rodríguez que usted regresó a México como a las 6 de la tarde? ¿Usted se acuerda de haberle dicho eso? Sí. Yes.
The timeline's not matching up for me.
When you met at the hotel in Mexico, who were all of the people who were at that meeting?
Cuando se hizo la reunión en el hotel en México, ¿quiénes eran toda la gente que formaban parte de la reunión?
David y las dos hijas de Gabriel.
David and Gabriel's two daughters.
David, you mean David who?
David, ¿y qué es el apellido de David? The sheriff, David. David, the sheriff, I don't know his last name, no.
The sheriff and Gabriel's two daughters?
El sheriff y luego las dos hijas de Gabriel. And yes, and Barbas.
Anybody else?
¿Alguien más? In the moment, no one else.
You saw, when Gabriel fell, you saw his eyes roll back clearly and you knew he was dead, correct?
Cuando se cayó Gabriel, y usted vio que se brincaron los ojos, usted vio eso de forma clara y usted sabía que estaba muerto, ¿correcto? Because blood was coming out and he set up and shot.
You saw his eyes clearly. That was my question.
La pregunta fue si usted vio los ojos de él claramente. Eso fue lo primero. What I noticed was that they rolled back, the eyes rolled back in his head.
I don't have anything else.
Stand by.
Okay, we might have more jury questions. Let's see if we do. Okay, so what I'm telling you, what I can gather from the way the questions are worded, they're hostile. They're saying, you said earlier this, which one's true? They're basically saying, you're a liar. What did he lie about? Okay? They're getting right in his face. They're pulling out the differences in this, and they're making him testify to things that show discrepancies in his own testimony. They're making him answer to things that show discrepancies in his testimony. And then the question with the booties, asking about when you jumped over his body, you said he had to do this. Were you wearing carpet booties? Okay, that is the testimony we got about the carpet booties was literally they were worn by drug traffickers.
We're going to recess for the evening. Now, I'm going to talk to the witness in a moment. You're finished for today. When we take a recess, you're free to leave. See under subpoena. All right, you're still under subpoena, which is an order of the court for you to appear to testify. It may happen that you need to be recalled as a witness. Right? And that's the case, you have to come back.
Usted estaba citatorio para estar aquí. El citatorio es como una orden judicial para que usted esté aquí. Puede ser que hoy ha terminado con el testimonio, pero como el citatorio sigue en corte, puede que se vayan a llamarlo de nuevo para que regrese.
So you're still under court order to appear.
Así que todavía hay una orden judicial que usted comparezca aquí.
If that's communicated to you by the prosecutors, that you have to come back.
Si en algún momento los fiscales le dicen a usted que necesita regresar. Okay.
You have questions?
¿Tiene usted alguna pregunta para mí?
Sí.
Yes.
Pero, la pregunta es, yo aquí lo estoy, como tenemos un problema de que soy fuera de mexicano.
My problem is that I'm not Mexican and I don't have friends. I don't have family. I don't have help of any way, of any kind.
Y pues yo quiero saber también qué va a proceder.
I want to know what's going to happen after this.
Those are all questions that I encourage you to direct to the prosecutors. Prosecutors are always responsible for all those type of communications with someone who's alleged to be a victim.
Todas esas preguntas me sugiero que usted hable con la fiscalía, que son preguntas que ellos pueden contestar si tomando en cuenta que usted es víctima. Okay. That's all.
Any questions from the jury? 8:30 tomorrow morning, we'll resume testimony and start with a new witness.
And we're done. All right. Wow. Well, I would say this. Okay, this trial is going to get very spicy. Okay, there's going to be some stuff that we're going to hear about the defendant that is going to make him look very, very, very bad. We've already seen a preface to it in the openings, but where it is right now, just with what I've heard from the jurors today, I would put my money on one of two outcomes, and that's going to be either hung jury or not guilty. It sounds to me like the jury does not believe this story, and if they don't believe this story, what does the state have? They have 9 bullet casings in Mr. Kelly's yard and one person with a bullet hole in him. This key witness was not able, did he listen? He never identified Mr. Kelly as the individual. He never identified him. So we have what? How are they going to prove that this was him? There was nobody yet that has said he shot. It was him. We don't have the bullet to link to the gun. We don't have a witness that says he was there. We have somebody that says he had white on his head. But there's enough impeachment material on this witness that anything we've heard today, the jury could reasonably discount and say, I'm just not going to buy that. I don't hear that. Lots of evidence still to come, and some of the evidence is very bad. They've got Kelly's phone calls, but the state has done a good job with those phone calls when they break it apart piece by piece to explain why it could make sense. I think the state has a tough battle if this is all they have from their best witness. Oh, man. Mistrial, no proof that Kelly was even one who shot him. Said he had a white head. If it was midday and they were that close, he should have been able to see if it was him or not. The time frames, the witness struggles with time. What we know is he said it was noon and it was getting late. Noon is late for making a border crossing, apparently, because of the heat of the day. Even though this happened where this was in what was this, February? I don't think it was the middle of summer, was it? I don't remember the date that this happened. January, February. Either way, I guess in the heat of the day, it was too much to start that late in the day. Time and distance, major issues for this witness. January 30th. Yes, it was January. Okay, so Arizona is still hot. Let's see. Let's see if I can utilize everyone's Siri here. Hey Siri, what's the average temperature for Phoenix on January 30th?
January days in Phoenix receive more than 4/5 of the possible sunshine and have a mean maximum temperature of 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius. This is from Britannica?
No, thank you, Siri. I appreciate that. Okay, so that's average, which means, it could have been as high as 90, because some days it gets really hot. What year was this? This was it a year ago? A year ago this happened? Try Nogales. Hey Siri, what's the average temperature for Nogales, New Mexico on January 30th?
Okay, I found this on the web for what's the average temperature for Nogales, New Mexico on January 30th. Check it out.
Thank you, Siri. That was completely useless. Let's see. Temps are in the 60s and 70s, says Noni Mac. On that day, high of 58, low of 36, January 30th, 2023. Yeah, the heat. I don't think heat was as much an issue as the fact that they were carrying heavy packs. And that is hard work. And running and hiding. Siri says, let me Google that. No, she said, Google this yourself, is what she said to me. She said, I've already given you one answer. That should be good enough. All right. Today has been spicy. It's been a little slower. It's going to pick up because I'm pretty sure there may be a couple more witnesses that need Spanish, but for the most part, I think we're going to have some English-speaking witnesses coming up here in a little bit. So let's see how this goes tomorrow. We're going to start again at 8:30 local time, which is 11:30 our time, as far as the East Coast. And man, I'm surprised the state never asked him to identify the shooter. Do you see the man in the courtroom? Can you point him out to me and describe an object he's wearing or describe an item of clothing? They didn't do it, probably because he couldn't do it. But at the same time, it would have been really cool had the defense known he wasn't able to identify him and say, can you identify this man? But that's not a risk they're willing to take, because if he does point the finger and says, yes, it's him, and they're busted. But the witness did not identify the defendant, which, man. All right. It's never cold in Arizona. That's why everyone moves there, right? January, February would be cold. The wintertime gets cold at night. Low of 36. That's just barely above freezing for those of you that are thermometerly challenged. Okay. Are you going to do birthday? I need to get the dancers prepared. We will do birthdays tomorrow. We will do birthdays in the morning. Let's see. As far as time frame of when that's going to happen, this is a late court. I mean, we're already almost to 8 p.m. here local time, so it makes it a long day. I got plenty of rest. You see, I didn't fall asleep today. I did not fall asleep, and I don't even have Mountain Dew. I just have water. So we'll see. We'll see. We're probably gonna. I'd probably say we do birthdays at 9, and then we'll do court again, just like we did this morning. How about that? And maybe a little earlier. So be on your toes. Ring the bell. Click the subscribe button. Any other questions we need to answer before we wrap up for tonight? Nogales is in Arizona, not New Mexico. Isn't there a north and south? Isn't it right on the border? Sorry. I'm saying you said New Mexico. In Arizona, not Mexico. Is what I read this as, but you said New Mexico, and I said New Mexico. Sorry. You know what I need? I need this right here.
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize.
I hear what you're saying. Nogales is in Arizona, not in New Mexico. I said it was in New Mexico. And then when I read this, I immediately thought that was wrong too. Got a call here. Let's see who's calling here.
Call
End of the day.
Lady Laura.
Lady Laura, this is RA. How are you doing?
Hi there. I just wanted to clarify a little bit about this witness.
Okay. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. So I immigrated to the U.S. 20 years ago, and it's incredible that the defense attorney seems to be asking questions trying to discredit how naive he might be, but it's incredible. People overseas do not understand or have access to a legal way to come into this country. It's just a reality. They're so humble. The people they socialize with, the people they know, the families that have gone into the U.S., the vast majority of them have come in here illegally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the guy is testifying in a completely foreign country, in a language he has no idea, in front of court with jury, talking about
in a murder trial.
Exactly.
where he was also shot at, so,
yeah. So of course he's going to be super, lost. But also, and I mean no disrespect, but he has sixth grade education. I was raised by a woman who was super wise, but had third grade education. It is very difficult to have rational discussions with them. And the questions are highly intellectual, Like the community here, people are actually super smart. It's hard to understand these questions. So I totally understand where he's coming from. I don't think that it makes the case for the state, but I wouldn't doubt him.
I wonder if the trouble they ran into with communication is going to be something the jury was able to overlook, if they're able to get to the bottom of it, because they almost, like with every series of questions, they have to figure out which answer was the right one. Okay, because the first time he may have been confused, and they've had to orient him to a specific period of time or a specific location, and then get that answer again. And keeping him oriented on that was difficult to say, okay, we're just talking about when the shooting happened, which direction we were facing, and trying to narrow it down. That's difficult. I'm not sure what the jury was able to glean from all this, but I appreciate you sharing your experience and looking at that way.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
It would be impossible. I think it would be impossible for someone with his background to be able to actually give, specific answers. But at the same time, I keep thinking, would he be someone who'd be able to memorize or be set up to be a witness that was prepped? It's hard to believe that, because I don't think he have been able to do.
That's a great way to look at it. Say, you flip the coin and say, okay, if you don't believe him, is he coached? Is he prepped? He's so skilled at this that he's able to pull this off. I don't think so. I think we're seeing actual response. We're seeing his, he's said the wrong things. He's given the wrong answers.
Exactly.
I don't think that's coached.
But although there's a part of me wondering if the juror questions were because some of them, hopefully the state was good enough to get some jury there that understand the realities of undocumented immigrants coming over, to understand where he's coming from. So there's a part of me that wonders if the questions were actually to give him the opportunity to clarify, not that it did, but I have faith that they had that. I still don't think that it proves, that the guy killed him, but.
Right. I will say this. We heard from one juror when there was some conversation back and forth, and I don't know how much we can read into this, but we heard a strong accent, like a Hispanic type accent from one of the jurors.
Yeah.
And we also heard some jurors without accents. So we might have a blend of people, which is very representative of the area down near the border. So I think that's best. That's why we have a jury of our peers, right? They're people that understand us and the situation we're in when we're tried. So
that's right. And also, just FYI, when he says massage, just for some of the chat, in Spanish, that would mean physical therapy or also, lymphatic drainage, because of the stomach issues that he was having. So I don't think it means this massage we get here.
Yeah, it did paint an interesting picture while we're trying to. It's like other countries have other treatments. I mean, there are treatments that are non-standard to us that other countries it's pretty normal for. So I might try it. A good belly rub. If I'm not feeling good, we'll see if it gets better. They might be onto something. So.
That's right. Thank you so much. I love you and the community. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the call. We'll see you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
What a great call to end on. D-Nick says, no, I really think they were massaging his belly. I think that's what they were doing. Oh, wonderful. You guys, you're amazing. Today was a great day. This was a difficult day to sit through. Congratulations if you made it this far. You are a hardcore true crime fan. Because the days with testimony that go through a translator are some of the hardest days to get through. It's right up there with admitting 700 pictures one at a time. Yeah, it's very, very painful. I think it's going to pick up tomorrow. Belly rub every day. It's great. I'm going to try it. I've got a lot of belly to rub, so we'll see. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Big thanks to our mods who did have to work a little bit of overtime today. Let's try to treat them nicer tomorrow. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe till we go live again tomorrow morning. We'll do birthday greetings and everything around 9-ish. Don't get worried if I'm a little bit late. It's okay. We'll do birthday greetings, sing happy birthday, just recap if there's any breaking news that happened overnight. I know if there's like a Sarah Boone letter or something, we'll do that in the morning. Then we'll do a live stream in the afternoon, or I guess just before noon, that we'll be picking up with the case as it starts at 8:30 Arizona time. So big shout out and thanks to our mods. I owe them big time. They're amazing. Peace Pickles over under and out, says 6 Ranch. Thank you. All right, be good to each other. Have yourselves a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow.